Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. I am OT Them Speaks. I am a little worried about today's stream, not because of the content, but I've lost power for 4 times today. We had a tornado in Houston like a week ago, and a lot of people have been out of power. And I guess they're fixing it right now, so it'll just shut off and shut back on. The problem with that is when the power goes, so goes the internet. So if that happens, I may have to reschedule this, or depending on how far I am, if that happens, I will probably either cut it off and just try again another day when that's not happening. Because it's been happening all day, and it's been very random. I've been looking at the times, so hopefully that doesn't happen. But if I just shut off, that's what happens. I'm not going to come back. You don't have to wait. I don't want to. I don't want to keep struggle streaming based on whatever the electric company is doing. So again, if I shut off, that's the reason. I won't come back. I'll just reschedule it and try it again another time. But yeah, it's happened randomly, and it only goes out for like 2 minutes. But when it goes out again, it takes my modem like another 2 minutes. And I don't want to just sit here with dead air. So yeah, that's what we're doing. So yes, please, if that happens, you can go on and do whatever else you're doing. I'm not going to waste you guys' time because of our struggle streaming here in Houston. But yeah, there was a tornado that ran through not very far from my home. There was over, I think, like 100,000 or maybe even more than that people who lost their power. And all day today they've been freaking working on it. So hopefully that doesn't happen and I don't have to worry about it. But I just wanted to explain, if it goes off, that's what's going on. I will not come back. I'll reschedule it, and if, depending on where it is, I'll chop it off and end it there, and then do a to be continued or something like that. But anyway, I am OT Them Speaks. Please like, share, subscribe. While I am to the right, I love letting you guys know that up front. But I also love listening to other perspectives, and I do not care if people disagree with me. I have no issue with it. Hello, Miss Amber C. Hello, Miss Benita. Yes, so I do lean to the right. I like to be upfront about that. I don't want to trick anybody into thinking I'm something that I'm not. I'm right out in the open with it. I have a couple cool videos today. My goal is always helping the poor people, which in my opinion helps Black people the most, because that's our demo. Good afternoon, Mr. Williams. Let's see. I have a title that I want to go over. Before that, I'm going to continue along the lines of my last 2 streams. The first one on this little series that I got going on. Wasn't my intention, but it's just kind of working out that way. I talked about illegal immigration and why Black people are so supportive to that cause when it hurts us the most. And then the week after that, I had a really good conversation. I had other people up on the panel. I had Miss Akimi, I had Miss Real Talk Nikki, I had Mel W. I'll share all of their links. But I had all those people, and we had a really good conversation about the decisions that Black women have made that led us to where we are right now. And I'm not knocking Black women. I'm not saying anything. We literally went over the history of what was going on. What's going on, Lou? Respect. So we first started talking about, actually, you know what? No, I'll go. This is what the topic of today is going to be. And this is the actual title. Black women and the fallout from the decisions that they make. This is, again, the 3rd version of this. It's kind of, I don't know why it's expanding out, but that's the nature of what I'm doing here, because I'm talking about things that I think are very, 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 very important to the Black community. And everything else is extra. Whatever else comes of it. That's my intent, is to talk about these issues, because these are the issues that I believe can help us get out of the situation that we're in. Cool. Let's see. So what did we go through? We went through the 60s and 70s social safety nets. We had welfare, and we had Black men getting essentially expelled from their homes. And that left a lot of children to suffer, unfortunately. And the family has not been intact since. It's really interesting, because our families made it through slavery. There's no greater thing to overcome. We made it through slavery. We made it through getting shipped from across the seas here, but we could not survive the civil rights movement. That to me is mind blowing. I will drop the link later on if anyone wants to talk about this topic, but we made it through slavery, but we could not survive reliance on our government and free checks and food stamps. To me, that's terrifying that it was that easy. But so I talked about that. Talked about the Moynihan report. Patrick Moynihan in 1965 came out with the Negro Family. He discussed the unintended consequences of welfare in the system. Once they put it out, there was no turning back. Before I even start that, I'm discussing Black women, the Black community. I do not. It drives me crazy when people say, yeah, well, white people did it too. That's not what I'm talking about. So there's no reason to do that. What that is a tactic to not have to address sensitive topics in our neighborhoods. That's all that is. So as soon as you talk about Black on Black crime, white people kill each other too. It's like, all right, how is that going to help you in your house? How's that going to help your neighborhood? You know what I mean? It drives me crazy when people do that. So when I talk about welfare and what our women did, I do not want to hear the other white women did it too. That's not the point. We did it in astronomically higher numbers. We continue to do it in higher percentages. So it's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about getting men out of the homes and our situation right now. Yes, there are other people who are doing it. It's not my concern. That's not what the point of my channel is. It's not what the point of any of my lives will ever be. So just so you guys know, that's where I'm coming from. The next came after the Moynihan report showed that our women were so readily to get rid of our men for paychecks, essentially, and not even big paychecks, just enough to survive, but just enough to not be able to work, because they gave other incentives that they said, okay, we'll give you this, you can work, but you can only make this much money. And as soon as they did that, that was it. They created a permanent reliant class on the government. After that, we had, not necessarily after that, but it started happening. Yes, sir, it did happen in the 20s. Lou, you're correct. After that, and kind of simultaneously, and actually started in the 40s, we had Margaret Sanger. And I spoke about this. I'm just running down where we were and where we are right now and why this conversation matters. Margaret Sanger created a group called Planned Parenthood, which is the exact opposite. It's not planning for parenthood. It's planning for the opposite, which is interesting that that's the name. And then if you look up the services that they provide, it's family planning, which it's the exact opposite. It is like literally stopping people from getting the ability to parent and family plan. And that impacted our population. We're the only people who have not grown or declined in population. We've been stuck 12 to 14% this entire time. And that, I believe, is very, very, very correlated to we'll just say, to the abortions and the abortion movement and the pro-choice movement. After that, we had the education push. I saw a really, really, really sad video. A really sad video of a woman who was dropping her kids off at CPS. And her reasoning was so, it was heartbreaking. There's no other word for it. It was really, really sad because, and if you haven't seen that, go to the Angie Stanton. Let me see if I have her IG. Yes, the Angie Stanton on IG. She had the video up. It's heartbreaking. What's going on, Vince? It's really heartbreaking because she literally went to CPS to drop her kids off because she felt she couldn't take care of them because she needed to get an education. That is how ingrained this is in our people. Now, I'm not saying don't get an education. What I am saying is, hey, if you miss this moment, you have to adjust. My wife is the queen of planning, right? If something doesn't work out, she's got a plan B, C, D, E, and then to each one of those, she's got addendums to them. So just because you may have not got the education you want, you don't sacrifice your family. This woman, I wish I would have pulled that up. It's kind of off the topic, but it was so powerful to the points that I've been making the last 2 weeks, because her dedication was to education. I got to get an education. I got to get to work. Meanwhile, she's got kids that she's literally giving up for that, and that's where we're at right now. Let me see if I don't think I should have pulled that up. Should have pulled that up. Your wife is the same way, man. She's gonna plan. She's gonna plan. There's no such thing as failure. There's no such thing as something slipping past. It's going to work. You're gonna make it work. Let's see. No, I didn't pull it up. I wasn't planning on using it. It just came across my mind because one of the conversations we had last week was the educational part. And when you see how dedicated women are, I used to watch Kevin Samuels, R.I.P. Kevin Samuels. Great educator. And people didn't see that because they didn't like his tactics, but he always had women who would come up, and what they believed was their value was their education and their status at work. And it was so fascinating to watch because every single day he would talk to these women, young women, older women, didn't matter who he was speaking with. They all, when he would ask, what they bring to the table, they would start talking about their education. And that's how ingrained this is in our community. I don't know, again, what's going on in the white community, Hispanic community. I don't know. But in this topic, in this discussion, they would always start out with their job and their education. And again, it's not a bad thing, but when we're in the situation that we're in when it comes to family, it's one of those dominoes that just really impacted the nuclear family. All right, I don't have that clip, so I'm gonna skip past that. Let's see. Let's talk about the repercussions. I have some. All right, it would not be an OTDM Speaks live stream without some congressional hearings. Because I am a nerd like that, I love watching congressional hearings. And I think the more I play these, the more you guys will realize, holy crap, there's some real stuff going on out here. And we're worried about this or that. I almost pushed back my live because of some drama on one of my favorite content creators' channels. And I was like, you know what? I can't do that. While that's entertaining, this to me is, not to me, this is more important. I can always go catch that replay. And for the people who are in there, catch my replay. I have zero issue. That is not my sector. That is not what I'm trying to do. I can partake all I want. I control people in the chat, but this here is real. Doesn't get any realer than this. So what we're talking about now, we did the education, we did all that stuff. What we're talking about now is sports. And that while that sounds weird, women, our women, once again, are heading the charge on eliminating girl sports. And they don't even, well, I won't say they don't realize it, because I don't know who these women are. I just see them on the floor, on the House floor, on the Senate floor, saying insane things and insulting women on behalf of men who say they're women. So I'm going to play this first one. This is Representative Lee, Summer Lee. And I would like you guys, again, the context, this is in December. So the context is there's a young lady who was swimming and who lost her position to a professional swimmer who was a guy. And that's that Leah Thompson person, everybody, or Leah Thomas, whatever. You guys know who I'm talking about. Huge medal winner. But turns out it was a guy who wanted to be a woman. I don't know if he did the full process. I don't know if he fully transitioned. He just won and broke records and did everything he set out to do, I think. Because as a male swimmer, he was not an elite male swimmer. As a woman swimmer, he won medals. So they called this young lady to the floor during one of the oversight committees, because the government is over our any kind of sanctioning bodies are government entities. So if you look at basketball and they find out there's somebody who's cheating, right? They handle it internally, but the government's going to come look, because you also have the betting factor. You look at Vegas, there is a lot of money that goes into college sports, that goes into NFL, NBA, all of these sports. So if there's cheating, you are now defrauding potentially millions of people for billions of dollars. So the government has an interest in making sure sports keep clean. We also saw that with professional wrestling. But anyway, that's sidetrack. So this committee is talking about the sports and women having to compete against men. So the first one is Summer Lee out of Pennsylvania. Let's see, Summer Lee. Can I make this bigger? Well, we'll do this. Sorry. I'm sharing this a little bit differently than I've done before. All right. Sorry, guys. Here we go.
And I now recognize the ranking member, Ms. Lee, for your opening statement. Ms. Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's disappointing to me that although the title of this hearing implies a much needed discussion, we're likely going to be forced to listen to transphobic bigotry. Because actually protecting female athletes in Title IX is important. Participating in sports provides so many benefits to our young people. Those benefits range from improved mental and physical health to enriched life skills, such as teamwork and goal setting. In terms of mental health, studies show that participating in youth sports is associated with lower rates of anxiety and depression, lower amounts of stress, higher self-esteem and confidence, and reduced risk of suicide. So why are my Republican colleagues working so hard to prevent our trans youth from participating? According to the Human Rights Campaign, in just the first 143 days of 2023, elected officials across the nation introduced more than 520 anti-LGBTQIA bills in state legislatures. 23 states banned trans youth from participating in school sports consistent with their gender identity, with some laws focusing on kids as young as kindergarten. How competitive is kindergarten?
You see how she just dismissed the kindergarten? Again, this is about girls' sports, and then obviously the next progression is women's sports. Why would they be integrating trans kids into kindergarten sports? She brushed past it, which is why I paused it. But the other thing is, notice again, this is one of our women. It drives me crazy. I don't know why we get so passionate, but look at how passionate she is about this. She's aggressively passionate about this. It's I don't know. It bothers me. Anyway, sorry.
You all are working so hard at excluding and demonizing a bunch of kids. I think it's important that we raise the voices of transgender athletes, their families, and teammates. I'd like to read a few of their stories written in the first person. The first from Cece Telfer, a professional track athlete, model, and advocate. I was a former D2 national champion in the 400-meter hurdles, and I am now a professional athlete training to make it on the Team USA and represent them in the following Olympics to come. Sports have given me a plethora of things, but mainly sports have given me strength, taught me how to overcome fear and stand up when defeated.
This is the argument women have been making. This is where Title IX came from, and she's now making it for boys. So you always hear the women talking about the patriarchy, right? They want to get away from the nuclear family. They want this gynocentric society. How can you do that if you're allowing men to infiltrate that? She's literally making the argument for why there's women's sports, but now she's talking about boys going back into women's sports, not back into, but going into women's sports. They fought to separate them so that they have career paths. You have women who are professional swimmers. They want to make the Olympics. This is a career. Basketball is a career. Even if you don't make WNBA, they play overseas. But if you allow men to get in there, you are now destroying the sport. And it's really interesting how she's making the argument for women, but she's doing it for men.
Sports have given me collaborative skills that was developed throughout the years of being an athlete and having teammates. Sports taught me how to stay focused and committed, along with the necessary skills that sports has taught me and giving me clarity and freedom. Transgender women and girls, transgender people are not a threat. We don't play sports to cheat. We deserve the rights as any other women because that's what we are.
You don't have to cheat if you have a natural advantage. it's almost like fantasy land. Anyway, sorry. I'm gonna play.
There are rules and regulation that define our ability to compete. The narrative that builds on myself and trans kids in the community is negative and dehumanizing. It feels as though people don't want us to exist. And in order to change the narrative, because we do exist and we're not going to stop existing, we need to stop these anti-trans bills. They are dehumanizing and kids are dying. Instead, I believe the government should step up and support trans people on all levels to show that we are seen and have rights and are people just like everybody else. From Ember, a transgender female high school softball player. When I was younger, I played co-ed baseball. I loved it. When the teams became single sex, I no longer fit in. I was teased and ostracized, though the most difficult part was not feeling like myself, so I quit. I came out as trans in 7th grade and wanted to play softball, but my state requires trans girls to take hormones for a year before they can play a sport. So I waited for 3 years. During that time, I became self-conscious, uncomfortable with my body, and lost all of my confidence.
They're attributing this to the sports, not the condition. Everything that this person went through, everything that this little boy went through, they're somehow attributing all of that suffering and that stress and everything that they went through with their body to the lack of being able to play sports, not the medicines and the stuff that they're doing to their body. The untested medicines, by the way.
Was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. I was finally approved to play on a girls' team in the spring of my sophomore year of high school. Playing on a girls' team has been an incredible experience.
I'll bet.
I have made so many friends and improved so much despite starting so late. My teammates treat me just like everyone else on the team. So do my coaches. My team is part of my family. We are all so different. In
April of 2023, the Department of Education proposed a rule that, if adopted, would...
Now, this is Riley Gaines. This is the young lady who went against Leah Thomas or Leah Thompson, whatever her name is. Like,
reverse this presumption. Under the proposed rule, women's sports aren't just for women. They're for anyone who simply says they are a woman, unless a particular school can demonstrate to the satisfaction of the Department of Education that keeping a particular team female meets important educational objectives. The new rule mandates that every school in the country must demonstrate the unfairness of male participation on each specific women's team that they offer and develop rules that minimize harm to trans-identified athletes. But what about the harm to us? Who is working to minimize the harm done to female athletes? Let me be perfectly clear. A school that knowingly allows a male athlete to take a spot on a women's team or allows a male athlete to take the field in a women's game is denying a female student athletic opportunity. Absolutely. And that is sex-based discrimination, and it violates Title IX, regardless of what the new regulations might say. It is my sincere hope that members of this committee will take action to stop the Biden administration's illegal and administrative rewrite of Title IX. Of course, there is a place for everyone, regardless of gender identity, regardless of sexual orientation, regardless of race or what sports you play. There's a place for everyone to play sports in this country. But unsafe, unfair, and discriminatory practices towards women must stop. Inclusion cannot be prioritized over safety and fairness. And Ranking Member Lee, if my testimony makes me transphobic, then I believe your opening monologue makes you a misogynist.
Bam. So, doesn't get any better than that. She's 100% correct. And she went up on Tucker Carlson and said something pretty amazing to me a while back. I made a video on it. Let me stop getting rid of that. I have so many open right now. I just don't want to have extra ones open. And she said, what is the difference between, there's a guy named Dilla Mulvaney, if you know who he is. He dresses up and he says he's transitioning. I don't know if he fully has, if he hasn't. He does videos talking about normalizing the bulge and all this stuff. And he's chronicling his transition. I know he did some facial work, but I don't think he's fully transitioned. I don't know if he ever plans on it. But she said something about him that was very interesting when she went up on Tucker Carlson, and she said, how is this any different from somebody in blackface? We would have a fit if a white person just painted their face black and started talking about the black experience. That's what Dylan Mulvaney does. That's what a lot of these people do. I have zero issue, be very clear, with anybody doing what they want, as long as they're an adult. This is not about adults. I'm pointing this way, sorry. That's where I'm looking, because that's where the video is. But this is We're not talking about adults. We're talking about kids here. That's where the problem comes in. Kids in imposition. You cannot impose your idea on somebody else and force them not only to accept it, but to agree with it. That's one thing to accept something and say, hey, do what you do. It's another thing to say, you have to also like it and agree with it. Otherwise, you're a foe. You're a homophobe. You're a transphobe. You're all these other phobes. I don't like that at all. I really don't like that. So the next one is Ted Cruz talking to a woman about this. Same topic. He's going to ask a very basic question. The answer is sad.
Ms. Robinson, do you agree with Ms. Gaines that there's a difference between women and men?
If the question is about trans women,
I'm just asking, is there a difference between women and men?
I mean, what I can say here is that the NCAA has rules in place. They've had rules in place
She
for the
can't
last
answer.
decade, and when this competition
Okay, I'm
happened,
going to try
the
again.
rules were clear.
Do you believe there's a difference between women and men? It's a yes/no question. Do you
It's a
believe there's a
woman.
difference?
Oh, I
who
think that
won't
we're
say
talking
that
about
she's
this
different
case
from
with the
men.
No, I'm
NCAA.
asking a
And vice
question.
versa.
Do you believe there's a difference between women and men?
I
Most people could answer this very simply. I'm curious if you're willing to do so.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just putting it into the context of the
Is that a yes?
conversation that we're having.
I'd say.
I think that there are definitions
I-
related to
is
sex.
Is
but
that
I
a
also
yes?
think
So I'm
that when
trying to
we're-
get a yes or no. I'm not trying to get a speech.
Oh,
Is there a difference between women and men?
I think that there are definitions for biological sex.
Okay, so you're
which
not
is
answering
different
that.
than
Let me
crazy.
ask you this question then. Why do women's sports exist?
Exactly.
If you can't define a difference between women and men, why not abolish women's sports and just tell little girls to swim with little boys and see who wins?
Oh, I'm simply saying that that sex
My
is different
question,
than gender.
why
and I do
do-
believe
why
that
do
women's
women's
sports
sports
have a great
exist?
value. I mean, Senator, I'll tell you right
Ms.
now.
Robinson, please answer the question I'm asking you.
Absolutely.
Why do women's sports exist?
I think that there are so many positive benefits to sports.
But
I mean,
why have a
we've talked
separate
about it here
category for
today.
women? If there's no difference between women and men, why to have women's sports?
I'm saying that there's a difference between sex and gender, and that the NCAA has rules in place, which they have for the
So,
last
Mr.
decade. which
Chairman, I
determine
would like
that
to enter into
related
the
to
record an
participation.
article from Duke Law called Comparing Athletic Performances for the Best Elite Women to Boys and Men. And it goes through examining in 2017 the top records for women in the world in various track and
destroyed.
field events. So, for example, in the 100 meter, the top record for women in the world was 10.71 seconds. Now, that record for the number one woman in the world in 2017 was in the year 2017 broken by 124 boys under
That's
18.
insane.
In that same year, the
That is
record for the
insane.
number one
What's going
competing
on now?
woman in the 100 meter dash in the world was broken by a total of 2,474 men. If the radical Democrat agenda to destroy girls' sports and women's sports succeeds, little girls will not have a chance to compete. So I ask unanimous consent that this article be entered into the record.
Every record was already surpassed by boys in the tune of thousands, hundreds, or either thousands. That should say right there that it's a problem what they're doing. It's a real problem introducing boys into girls' sports. Whether you want to call them that or not, whether they identify that or not, it doesn't matter. It's the reality. There's a clear physical difference. There's clear physical results. You see them. He just told us. He just told us. Over 2,000 people broke one of the records that he was talking about. They were all boys. But that was a record for the girls. So why are we doing this? And why are these two black women promoting this? She couldn't even say she's a black woman. What are we doing? I've seen this more than the other topics that I've touched, but I still, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because, again, the theme of my last few lives is why are they using our women to be the face of this stuff? Listen to this next woman. This one's interesting, very interesting, because she's going to be the one to point out, well, this is good for black women, but she's not black. Why? What are we doing? Why are we allowing other people to speak for us like this? This one is, here we go.
Ms. Robinson, these state laws that you
Same
referenced
woman,
regarding
Kelley Robinson.
transgender, do you think they're driven by hate Ignorance? What's causing this?
I mean, we know that the people behind these bills are part of a well-funded opposition groups. Organizations like the Alliance to Defend Freedom are a part of that.
Do you think it's driven by hate?
I think it's driven by a well-funded group of
I
opposition.
didn't ask you where they get the money. I asked you their motivations.
I think it's driven by power. I think that there is a move right now to control people and our bodies for the sake of power. I don't think it's about
Just
people.
for power, right?
The irony that she's attributing the power to the other side versus her side, who is literally trying to not overthrow, but redefine laws to make this work. To me, that's the one who's power hungry. To me, the one who's just going along with what the actual law says, they're the ones who are executing their freedoms. When you try to overturn laws to mean something that they don't, you're trying to recategorize human beings. To me, that's the ones who are exercising power. But hey,
You don't think these are hateful people that are doing this?
I think that this is about power, but I do think that as the bills are moving forward, they are creating a culture of hate. And I have to say again that every time we see the introduction of these bills, they are accompanied with violent online campaigns that call my community groomers and pedophiles.
Tell you that violent rhetoric has no place in this debate or any other debate. Ms. Gaines, what's the average day like for a young lady trying to compete at
this is what it takes
the
for a
level
woman
you've
to compete
competed at in terms of
competitive
training?
swimming.
So I started
Olympic
swimming when I
level.
was 4. I graduated college when I was 22. So I dedicated 18 years of my life to my sport, which of course includes your sport-specific training, swimming, but also weightlifting, also your diet, also your sleep schedule, not to mention the social sacrifices you have to make. At the collegiate level, we were swimming in the water every single day for 6 hours, 3 of those hours being before 8 a.m. So you practice from 5 to 8, you go to class, you come back to practice, you swim from 1:30 to 4:30.
This is the same story you're going to hear if you talk basketball, you talk football. This level of dedication is what's mandatory to be elite. The top 1% of basketball players, human beings, can make the league. These people dedicate their lives to this. This woman dedicated her life to swimming 6 hours a day. Just listen to what she's saying. The work that they work out for a living. They literally exercise for a living just to have some guy come in and take all of it away. She should be the record holder right now. She's not. A guy is.
We ate dinner at 5 o'clock because we were starving. Eat dinner, do your homework, ice your shoulder, go to bed, wake up, you do it all again the next day. We were swimming over 10 miles on average every single day.
Dr. Lopez, do you believe that Leah Thomas had an advantage in swimming because she was a biological male who transitioned sometime late in college?
I am not a sports medicine physician. I can only relate to the stand of the Sports Medicine Federal International Association.
You have doctors who are scared to say after puberty is when he transitioned. She's scared to say it, whether she agrees or not. She's terrified because she knows she will lose her position. Wherever she works, whatever she does, she's in trouble. This is like asking some Charlemagne and Killer Mike. This is like asking them who you voting for. You vote for Trump? This is what they're doing. They're putting him on the spot. But she's scared to say yes. A male who's gone through puberty has an advantage over females, no matter whether they did or not.
What do they say?
They do not recommend the exclusion of transgender individual in sports.
Do they believe it's fair for Leah Thomas, who spent 3 years swimming for the men's team in the senior year of college, to compete in the women's division? They think that's okay?
As a medical professional, I don't have the scientific
Let me
expertise
tell you
to
as a
provide an
person.
opinion.
Let me tell you as a
That's
person.
why.
You don't need a medical
Pretty
degree.
scientific.
This is not okay. This is definitely not okay. You work all your life training as a swimmer, competing against biological girls, and you wind up your senior in college competing with somebody who 3 years swam as a guy.
And he not only swam as a guy, he swam as a guy at the highest level with other guys. Then transition. Like, this is not just some random guy off the street. This guy was already swimming professionally.
And you lose. Ms. Robinson, do 80% of Americans support biological males competing in women's athletics?
I can say more than 70% of Americans believe that the
No, it's
rash of attacks on
no,
trans
it's a
sports
really
is the wrong political
simple
priority.
question. Do 80% of Americans support biological males participating in female sports?
I mean, I can't verify that, but what I can
Well,
say
I
is
can
that
tell you it's not even close. That there's nothing wrong with you if you have a problem with Miss Gaines feeling cheated. There's nothing wrong with you if you have a problem with Miss Gaines feeling uncomfortable in a locker room. There's nothing wrong with you. Now, we'll sort this out as a nation, but this idea that something's wrong with her because she feels cheated is absurd. You have every right to feel that way. And I imagine a lot of young ladies do feel uncomfortable being in a locker room under the situation you described. Mr. Sharp, what's the purpose of your organization, and what's your message to America?
Yeah. Senator, we want to protect the freedom of all Americans, and that includes our desire to ensure that children and women, that their interests are protected, that they're not harmed by this gender ideology that's being pushed, and that each of us is free to live and work and speak without being coerced or punished by the government because of our good faith beliefs.
One final question, Ms. Gaines. Do you think the experience you had in the dressing room is something that young girls throughout the country share your views?
I get messages every single day from girls of all over the political spectrum. We mentioned this issue being politicized. This is not politics for me. This is a real life issue. And I want to put it on record. I don't believe trans athletes should be banned from sports. That's the rhetoric that's being pushed from the opposition. Anti-trans bill bans trans athletes. Trans athletes should not be banned from playing sports. Of course not. I just want everyone to compete where it's fair and where it's safe. And I don't understand how that's overly controversial. But yes, especially at that NCAA championships, every single girl, at least on my team, being a team captain, I had these conversations with my team, and there was 40 girls on my team. We all felt the same way. I've had the conversations. We all felt uncomfortable in that locker room.
So why do we allow it? Can't speak to that. But what I can speak to is, why are our women on the forefront of this? That lady is sitting, as soon as she gets asked a question, she starts talking about violence. What's going on, Double? She starts talking about violence. Why is she talking about violence when he's asking about female sports? Who's being attacked? I'll tell you who's being attacked. Have you ever heard of Fallon Fox? Fallon Fox was in the 2000s. Fallon Fox was an MMA fighter who was beating the crap out of women. Then they found out it was a guy. Well, he transitioned. But by the time they found out he transitioned, he had broken women's faces, like literally, orbital sockets, jaws, everything. That's who it's dangerous for. And we're sitting here acting like this is okay. But you keep asking, why are our women so passionate about this? Well, this woman is, you said he had a strong jawline. You did. He had a real strong jawline. I think that's what made him look in. That, and Joe Rogan was on the forefront of that. He's like, hey man, this guy shouldn't be doing this. And at the time, that's when it really first started. He had some serious heat over that. But why are our women so dedicated? Why is this woman willing to go straight to talking about violence when they're asking her about sports and whether it's fair? Why? This is cool. I made it through this live. I haven't lost power yet. But why? I need someone to explain this to me. Would anyone like to come up and talk about this? Let me ask that. Because I will drop the link. If not, I'm good with it. But would anyone? Let's check in. Would anyone like to talk about this? Because this is an interesting topic we don't talk about. But again, our women have been convinced somehow that we need to fight for this. This is something worthy of being fought for. Literally working to eliminate themselves. Now, when I'm at work, when I work and I go to work, my job is to get people to replace me so I don't have a job. So it's in my interest to train everybody. And I don't have to do anything. I've done this for 20 years. People will go to my workplace and say, look, Jesus, it's dialed in right here. Yeah, it sure is. What are you doing? Nothing. Training. It's in our interest. Why would a woman work to eliminate herself as a being? Last week, we went over birthing people. Every woman in the chat, I teased them. And when Miss Akimi came up, when Real Talk Nikki came up, I was like, how you doing? Are you a birthing person? And of course they got annoyed because nobody wants to be called that. Why are these women fighting for that? You okay with being called a chest feeder, ladies? You want to be called a birthing person? Have you ever even heard that? It's a thing. And guess who's pushing it? Black women. Not me. Excuse me, black women. Let's do that. That's more than a pause. Sorry. But is there any women, or would anyone like to talk about it? Even the guys, it doesn't have to be a woman. Because it's fascinating to me that our women are so into this. And it doesn't matter what the cause is. As long as it's left wing, they're going to go, boom, full speed ahead. It's fascinating. And then Mel says, our Black sisters unfortunately put agenda before their color. We talked about this. Remember when Tanji Brown, she would not define it. We played that last week on my live. What is a woman? I'm not a biologist. Is it because she really doesn't know she's a woman, or is it because she's scared to say what she really believes? Because she knows she'll get X'd. Not literally, but career-wise. She would be done. She'd have protesters outside her home just for saying, yeah, I can tell you what a woman is. It's an adult female. Anyone here with daughters? Would you like to talk about this? She's training, she's playing ball. You're out there working with her, and some boy comes in, clearly physically different, and everyone just starts cheering. Good shot. The one testimony that the lady was reading, yeah, I did better than ever. I was really popular. I bet you were probably, actually, I guarantee you were the best player on the team. So that made you feel good. But guess what? You shouldn't be there. It's not fair. Black men and women need each other. Like bottom Black Wall Street, we can't build otherwise. We cannot. We cannot. But we've been so separated. There's been such a huge wedge for so long. To Mel's point, it's no longer even about color for them. They're just, this is their ideology. They're gone. They're on a mission. They are on a mission to eliminate themselves. I find it fascinating. I'm going to do this because I would, if anybody wants to come up, I would like to hear some other perspectives. If anyone agrees with this, I'm all ears because I need to understand this anyway. Birthing persons, what do you think? Do you see any issues with this? Do you have daughters? Do you agree? Do you disagree? It's frustrating. Is what it is. Let's see. I've never pinned them. Let me see if I can do that. Can I pin it? Miss Amber says, it's such foolishness. We have been conditioned to put everyone before ourselves. Most women can't see the forest for the trees. Yep. Absolutely. You can't pin this thing. That's weird. Oh, I can. All right. So the link is up top. If anyone wants to join. If not, I'm going to get off before I lose power again. I explained earlier when you guys were watching Dan D. We had a tornado in Houston last week, and a lot of people have been without power for a long time. They're getting it up, but for some reason they have to shut mine off. And every now and then, randomly, like 4 times today, the power would go off for like a minute, come back on. And I was worried that I would lose the connection. And by the time the internet comes back up, you guys will have been sitting here for 5 minutes. So I said, if that happens, I'm gonna call it a day and continue it later. Let's see. Okay, cool. Got some people who are willing to come up and talk about it. Hyde Park in New York. Got you. A person's source impacts views and values. My source is God. Therefore, I believe in the hierarchy: God, husband, wife, children. Absolutely. What's up, Lou? You want to cam down or you want me to pull you up? Doesn't matter. Cool. How you doing, sir?
What's going on, sir? How are you?
Excellent, man. Excellent.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day outside.
I'm gonna go. I'll find out in a little bit. But anyway, what's going on, man? How you feel about this?
You talking about the birthing, the birthing lady or birthing thing,
Just
as they call
you
it.
can't say birthing lady because now that.
Oh, okay. Well, birthing. What they call it? I want to be
birthing
correct.
People, birthing persons. But no, yeah. The topic overall is just why our women are gung ho with this stuff. How do you feel? Like today, obviously, we're talking about sports, but I've been gradually leaning to this, and you were in one, or at least one of them, so you know.
Yeah. I've been in a couple.
Yeah, Mel, can you cam up real quick, and I won't pull you up until you cam back down. Cool, thank you, sir.
Hey, Mel, I don't mind. I mean, Speaks, I don't mind camming up. If
it doesn't matter. I was just doing that in the background, make sure it's you guys. That's all.
Oh yeah, I stand on what I say. So
yeah. So what do you guys think about this?
Okay, well, when it comes to the culture, I think of culture as the different cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Every culture in the world, from Asian, Indian, Arab, Mexican, Spanish, Italian, French, they all are united and they stand together. As Black people, in America, we don't have a unified force as every other culture. That's why we are at the bottom, because we don't have our women are not behind us. So the women are standing as their side and the men are standing on their side, and we're trying to fight for the same thing, but we are standing together or standing as opposing forces versus united, like every other culture.
Mm-hmm. I saw this in Chicago growing up. Very, 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 I don't want to say racist, but it was a very diverse, we'll say diverse. But everyone had their own neighborhoods. Italian, Polish, German, Mexican, Puerto Rican, everybody had their own neighborhoods. And to your point, ours were always the most chaotic. Ours are always the ones that weren't taking care of each other, taking care of their own businesses. We're the only ones who do that. Well, again, this is anecdotal. I can't speak for the entire nation, but growing up, that's all I've seen. And anecdotally, I've lived in a lot of places in this country. I've seen it everywhere.
Yeah, I can give you my anecdotal experience. In my neighborhood, when I first moved in this neighborhood, when I bought my house, there were Black. All of my neighbors were Black. The housing, when the housing stuff came into play, I'm not for sure what to call it, but you know what I mean by
the bubble. Yeah, I remember.
When it came in, the housing problem, most of the Black people that lived in these houses that, in my neighborhood, just on my block alone, all of them left their houses without taxes or nothing. They just left their houses. And the Arabs came in and bought all of the houses. They moved in their cousins, they moved in their sister, their brother, their mom. They bought all of the houses and they're fixing them up. My neighbor right now is next door is fixing his house. And he added a whole nother floor so he could move his family in. you know, and it's like now my entire block it's only me and a couple elders that's over here that's still left over here, and my next door neighbor we're the only black people over here, but the rest of the houses over here are owned by Arabs. And they're fixing the houses and they're moving their wives and sisters and daughters and all of their family in. So, you know, I stay in Hamtramck. It used to be Polish, but the Polish moved out and now it's Arab and Indian.
The good thing is that's good for your equity.
Oh, definitely. My house. I'm getting my house fixed up too, just like they're fixing their houses up. So it's beneficial, but it's also a bad thing, though.
Yes, the bad thing is, why didn't we do that? Why did we just walk away? And this is interesting because I just had this conversation with my wife yesterday, I think it was, or the day before. Our neighbors are the same thing. We just start seeing more cars. I'm like, anytime I see a lot of cars in the street, I'm ready to move. We own, and the interest rates right now is just not a good time for us to do that. I'm like, all right, it's almost time to move. There's a lot of cars on the streets. And then she speaks to everybody. So she was like, no, they just had to have their families move in. And we don't do that. We don't do that. Not for the right purposes, we don't. These are adult kids who've moved back into their homes, and two of my neighbors, and then a couple of neighbors down do the same thing. These are full families.
Yeah, but see, it's a different era though. Oh, Speaks.
Yeah.
You have to remember that those were families that were moving in. Those wasn't, you know, single fathers, single mothers. You know, it was families. You know, so the thing is, other cultures when they move in, they move in as a family. They don't move in as individuals.
Yeah.
And that's what separates us from everyone else, because we don't have families anymore.
Yeah.
You know, most people that grew up in the neighborhood been, you know, like I said, my next door neighbor, they've been here. You know, this was at one time my wife's mother house, and we bought it from her. And the next door neighbors had been here just as long or just a little bit less, you know, time as my wife's family. So it's like they've been here for years. So they, you know what I'm saying? Like to say the older gentleman is a couple older gentlemen that stay on both sides from the end of each block. And they've been here for years, but you know, most of the people who left didn't have families. It wasn't they are not family houses like it used to be. So they left. You know what I'm saying? The family, you know, once the family's gone, there's nothing left.
Yeah. And
you know,
Checking You Boost says, be the change energy used to complain and say who will do particular actions can be done by the people complaining. Absolutely. That's why this channel, we don't do all the debating stuff. We have the conversations that we just don't hear other channels having.
Yeah, I hope I'm not being disrespectful to your channel, bro.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh, okay.
No. I'm reading a comment.
Yeah, Checking You Boo is good with me. So
yeah. Yeah. Mel, what you got, man?
Yo, salute my brother, and salute to you, Lou, also my brother. Hope y'all guys are doing well, man. Hey, I wanted to pop on this point because this is something that's very in-depth to me that I do think about, and I don't take this conversation lightly. I try to be objective about it because for obvious reasons, I can't go out and say, you know, I'm pro this or anti that or whatever. But I do want to say this. A lot of the Black women don't understand what they do when they embrace certain groups and they try to be overly inclusive. So I'm going to give you two examples. So it is quite possible that by embracing transgender ideology, and I'm not saying I'm for or against it, but this is the fact of the matter, that they are now creating a minority with the majority. So if you think about that for a moment, think about someone who is, if we truly believe in white privilege, a man who has lived his life benefiting, a white man who has lived his life benefiting from white privilege. If we believe in white privilege, if you advocate and say that you endorse or believe that there's a such thing as white privilege, how then can you turn around if that man decides to identify as a woman, view him as a victim or an oppressed group because this group considers themselves a minority and they consider themselves an oppressed group themselves. So now we have given, in a sense, the oppressor an opportunity to become a part of the oppression and void themselves of being held responsible for the generations and generations and generations of behavior that they have created. So I see you're thinking on that one. So I'm gonna let you go ahead and respond, and then I'll go to my second point.
Can I?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
You sure, bro? I don't want to interrupt. Okay, I was gonna say that most back in the 70s and 80s, maybe before that. I'm not gonna give a time, but the women supported the movement because they had sons, they had daughters that were involved. So it was easy for them to support it because they had someone that they loved in it. But at the end of the day, it affected as the process went on. At the end of the process, now it's affecting them, and it's a problem now. But they supported it before.
I haven't seen many who have a problem with it. But to what Mel was saying, you can allow people in that don't even have good intentions. We had Rachel Dolezal, right? She was hammered. She's a white lady. She was like president of the NCAA or not NCAA, NAACP.
A train wreck. She was a train wreck.
Yeah, I know
she's such a great person, and she did all this for Black people to find out she's white. We have Sean King, who was the scummiest human being I have ever seen. But he is a white man who has declared himself a Black leader in the community. So that's the first thing that popped into mind when you were talking, Mel, because I'm like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. What is to stop a white man from declaring to be a Black female? There's no boundaries here because they say you can identify. They don't say how you can identify. They just say this is what.
Well, let me interject on that because if you look at, let's say for example, because the commercials come on all the time, like RuPaul's Drag Show, and you look at some of these things, for Black women to embrace white men or even just anybody who wants to live that lifestyle, it's a conundrum because on one hand, to me, it's another form of blackface because if you see people who are outwardly in that way and they are boastful in their way, a lot of times with the white men on the RuPaul Drag Show, they mock Black female characteristics. They mock the way Black women talk. They mock. So when they pick up their character traits from the supposed stereotypes that you see about Black women. And that is a sickening thing. Now, the other point that I wanted to make as well was if you look at Caitlin Clark as an example, and I know she's not a part of that community, but there's always been an innate overcompensation of guilt that we as Black folks have always felt that we have to include other races in our causes and our movements. We've always felt that. We've always felt like we've had to make people overly welcome. So when we do that, at this point, I believe that Black folks are responsible for Caitlin Clark's elevation to the point that she's getting the money that maybe some of these Black female athletes should have long gotten before her. But it's because
they're trying to complain about it.
Can I get some pushback on that after you finish?
Yeah. But
okay.
but because Steph Curry went to her basketball games, and LeBron James is calling her the greatest of all time, and if you are a Black female basketball player, you better go along with that because if you don't, they're going to outbrand you and they're going to outcast you. So I think what you're seeing is Black women in a lot of ways cutting their nose off to spite their face because when they overly embrace these other groups, they're doing it to the detriment of themselves, to the point where Ketanji Jackson Brown doesn't even know what being a woman is. And one of the most sacred things that we always uphold in the Black community is Black girl magic. Are we going to change that to Black person magic?
And we have to.
We have
according to them.
According to them, exactly. Lou, you got it.
I was just gonna say that the women that supported the movement are now in competition with the movement that they supported. When black men tried to oppose and stand against it, our women didn't stand by our sides or stand by the sides of men who tried to say, okay, no, we're not going to allow this. And we didn't have a voice because we as men weren't united. So we didn't have a stance because every movement that has ever happened in history has been through the man and woman united as a force versus man versus woman.
Yeah. And
So
it's interesting because we like this goes all the way back to the initial domino effect. We haven't had the family, so the father wasn't there to show the boy, hey, this is what you do. This is the balance. The mother is supposed to be nurturing this way. The father is supposed to be doing this, and it just keeps carrying all the way down to the next thing you know. How are these men and women going to stand together when neither of them have had the balance to understand what that means? Back to checking you, Booze. She made a point. Where was it? Because everybody is out of order. We have men blaming women, women blaming men. This is because it's all chaos. The nuclear family has been chaos for a long time. We're talking back to the 60s, 70s. So how is it possible that we have our women standing by our side, or the women have us standing by their side? Well, we don't even know what that means. We never saw that.
Speech. It goes further than that though. Because in the 1920s, I'm gonna tell you, my dad was a child then. When the men went to war, when they came back, they wasn't able to get jobs. So the women had to work the field or work the jobs. And the men didn't have position to stake claim to be leadership. And once that happened, it was like the woman is the leader of the house because she make the most money because it was a capitalistic state.
I'll push back on that because the family decimation didn't start until the civil rights movement. It didn't. We were intact all the way through that. So that may be the reality, but the numbers, the divorces, none of that started until the 60s.
Well, yeah, but you don't think that the fathers that came home from those wars that couldn't get jobs and they were told that they had to sit back because they didn't make the money, that they couldn't leave the house, that didn't have an effect.
Well, Lou, I'm gonna push back on that just a little bit because when the wars were over, you're talking about particularly World War I and World War II. Yes. The jobs were there for the men, even black men. A lot of women lost those jobs once those men returned home. And especially these men then after World War II had the GI Bill on their side to help guarantee their employment. The problem was you had women now who gained a sense of independence. Yes. And so when they were working, they were able to find other jobs and feel that they were, I don't want to say that women are lesser than men, but they felt when you put, so the danger about a 2-income household, and I found this out even in my marriage, and I'm going to speak on that. And I don't mind speaking on it. So for 8 years, I was the sole provider for my household. You know, and there was a limit of expectation in the house. You know, my wife does it on this end. I make sure everything else is taken care of. My wife recently went into a new career. And she started working in that career, and she had never really worked in a career, you know, with a salary job. So she starts doing that. And so then our conversations changed to the point where I had to have that hard conversation with her. Like, don't forget that for 9 years, I did what I was supposed to do as the head of the household. So nothing's changed. You're not making more money than me. You're not, you know, doing something out of character, you know. So we came to an agreement and she understood that. So, but can you imagine if you are not married or you're married to a person who doesn't work? Yeah, I think women look at that more when they bring in the funding. They look at it more of a role reversal, where a man doesn't look at it as, a man looks at it as him doing his job. A woman, in my opinion, looks at it as I'm gonna land this plane, Amber, so it makes sense. So a woman looks at it as I'm doing a job that you can't do, but a man looks at it as I'm doing a job I'm supposed to do. But I want to say this as well too. I don't want to be long-winded. Both of y'all brothers, this predated the 1920s, and this definitely predated this civil rights movement. Guys, I've said it before. Historically, it's documented. This goes back to slavery. The whole design of the slave owner was to get the female to be solely dependent on him so she can teach her children to do the same thing. The male slave was allowed to go out and fornicate and do whatever he wanted to do as long as he worked the fields. They had to get permission from both slaves, or if they lived on two separate plantations or even on the same plantation. They had to get permission from the slave master just to get a quote unquote marriage, but they could still be sold from each other. No other race has had to deal with getting permission from another race just to be married. So that's the reason why even in the 1800s and 1900s, you had big mamas raising kids because the daddy wasn't there and the mama couldn't take care of them. Guys, this was not a new phenomenon. You look back in your history, there was somewhere where your great grandparent had to raise your grandma because your grandma's daddy was just some dude down the street with another family. It happened. And it happened predominantly to us. So I'll go on mute and see what let y'all guys respond to that.
I was just gonna say that some of us come from the slave tribe, and some of us come from the owner of slave tribe. So it's a little different with the description of what you were saying, because some Native American tribe or indigenous people or black people or whatever you want to call them, they had position of power too. And they played a part in the movement too when it came to slavery and ownership of land.
What do you mean by that, Lou?
Okay, some Native American tribes own slaves as well.
True.
I come from one of them.
We got Amber up here. Let's get a female.
Salute, Amber.
Yeah, go ahead, lady. I'm quiet.
Hello.
Respect.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I can't stay on long. I would have come up long earlier, but I'm in the office, and that's why I'm not cammed up. But I just needed to go back to Mel's comment. So I have clarification, and all the many women that are going to watch this wonderful live in the future have clarification. So you said, what is the conversation you needed to have with your wife in relation to her going back to work, or how she was coming across after she was in this new role?
Okay, so that's a good question. So for example, for 9 years, so it was an expectation that, okay, my wife would go to the grocery store and she, go grocery shopping. But because she's working, then it's, well, why can't you go to the store and go grocery shopping? For me, it was, well, my hours are still the same and I still am working. So it's not as if I'm able to do that. And so it almost looked like, because she took on that new responsibility, it was an expectation for me to then go grocery shopping without thinking about my time or my work schedule. So whereas I would have to make the plans for everything else regarding the house, whether it be fixing something up or whether it be doing other things. So whereas my role was supposed to change, I didn't ask my wife to go out and
I think the Lord's trying to help you right now.
I didn't ask my wife to go out and
go back a little bit. You broke up for a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's cool.
No, I was saying, so my wife was asking me to change roles because she started working, whereas I still was handling the roles that I needed to do, like getting the water heater. I didn't say, hey, honey, you got to put some money in for the water heater. So I still handled those responsibilities. So my wife forgot for a moment that I didn't ask her to take on responsibilities that I usually handled since she started working. So that was the point I was making, that I had to sit down and have that hard conversation with her, that it's great that she's working, but at the same time, I'm still doing the roles I have to do. So I would expect her to still do those roles as well, if that makes sense, Amber.
No,
Can
but
I
I hear you.
add? Sorry.
I gotta leave the office. I have
Yeah,
children to
salute,
pick
sister.
up.
Go
Let
ahead.
me just say this. I think it's important in any marriage for everyone to understand that roles shift and support is universal. So your wife held down the house and supported you 100% as you went out and you worked and you earned the income. So all of those duties she relieved you of because that was a part of the deal, right? I'm going to support you in what you have to do so that when you come home, you have peace. You don't have to go to the grocery store, you don't have to worry about dinner, all those things. So when your wife then, and I think you honestly just missed an opportunity. You guys, I don't know how your situation works, but I will say this. I think you missed an opportunity to universally support her. And I think that with the day and age that we're in now, it's just very easy to think outside the box. So, for example, when your wife, if she was like, well, why can't you go to the grocery store? Why is it that you guys couldn't sit down and come up with a grocery list and have the groceries delivered? I think that, and then you made the comment that when men, it's their job. Women, I can't remember the way that you stated that. Um, I work and I have a whole husband. And if my husband, God forbid, lost both of his legs, our roles would shift. And it would be what it is because I will always 100% universally, with everything in me, support him with whatever phase he's in. So I think, and then you have to also go back and look at, I came from, I was a stay-at-home mom. I've worked. I've been the only person working. But through it all, I just thank God I've had a partner who supported all those different stages of our relationship. And when I had to go back to work, after being a stay-at-home mom, he graciously helped me in that transition because we had to figure out how to work together to make our household function. Anybody who works an 8-hour day is tired. And to not understand or take some of that responsibility, even if it's temporarily, I just honestly think you missed an opportunity to support her. And that's all I have to say.
Can I
Okay.
respond?
Can I add to that, please?
Lou,
Wait.
Lou, hold on 1 second.
Yes, sir.
She mentioned that directly to me. I want to respond.
Yes, sir.
So Amber, respectfully, I do ask that if you said there was something specifically I said, I want to make sure that you know specifically what it was that you had a problem with that I stated. And I can stand and I can agree with it or disagree with it. I do believe that the point that I did make, you chose not to hear it, maybe, that I stated that because my role reversal in doing things around the house in terms of maintenance to the house, I didn't ask my wife to take on those roles. So if we were going to be a co-equal in
Hold
the
on,
household,
let me just say one really quick thing. So let's not make assumptions in that I chose not to hear you. I tried to articulate things in a way that I didn't feel like I was talking down to you, and I would just appreciate the same. I heard the conversation. If there needs to be clarification, I'm open to that.
Uh-oh.
Okay, can I say one thing before y'all do y'all back and forth, please?
Yeah, you can go in now because Mel's frozen.
Okay. Regardless of to what jobs me and my wife had with each other, we still had to play the role. So if the same thing was going on versus she in charge, as far as she had the money or I had the money, when it comes to the house that we built together, the roles still stay the same, and you're still supposed to do or play your position. So even if she gained more money, the position still was the same, regardless to how she felt or how I thought.
Hey, I'm gonna hop off, and I will try to get back on this call once I'm in the car.
I'm not trying to
If I'm
oppose you,
unable.
sister.
No, no,
And
no,
I'm
no,
so-
no, no.
And
I'm
Amber, I'm
just saying.
sorry that when I was responding, I do apologize for that.
No, no, no. I'm just saying I have to transition to the
Mhm.
car so that I can get my kids, but I will try to hop back on once I make it to the car.
Okay.
Yeah, like we have positions in the family. If you have a wife, you are the husband and she is the wife. She has her part and you have your part. That's it. Those places and those positions are non-negotiable because that's what you negotiate when you get married.
And Lou, and that's something I wanted to add on to that. That, like I said, and I think the reason why I said Amber chose to hear it, because I know I clearly stated that I don't expect my wife to
Do what I do.
Again.
he was about to say, I know what he about to say. He about to say, I don't expect my wife to do what I do.
Yeah, I don't think that's what anybody's
I
saying,
still
though.
do them because that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yes, yes. So I'm gonna read STG Design's comment because Will's stuck in the matrix right now. He said or she said her issue was that your wife has taken on another responsibility and would appreciate some help with all the other responsibilities she had before the job. I just think when there's a simple shift, I have no issue helping out wherever I need to help out. I just don't think that it has to be you do this. So when we talk about roles, I think the only roles that I care about are when we talk about head of household and all that kind of stuff, and husband over the wife, wife over the children. That's true, but that doesn't mean we don't need to do certain things in the house if it needs to be done. I'm not gonna just sit there and not pick something else up because my wife usually does whatever it is that hadn't been done. And I think that's all. I see. Checking you, boo. You were unfairly labeled the other day. She was labeled. I think it's a she. She was labeled as a troll. This is not a troll.
Checking cool. She cool with me.
Very, very intelligent, very active. This is not a troll. I kind of. It bothers me now that she was labeled this the other day in somebody's chat. I don't even remember where it was, but it was very, very unfairly characterized. Just know I respect you. You were labeled that the other day, and now it really bothers me. Before this, I didn't know, but now it kind of bothers me. But anyway, what I'm saying is,
hey, Speaks, when you finish, I want to say something, bro.
Yeah. Well, so what I was going to say is, when we talk about roles, that doesn't mean that we don't do certain things to help. Like I don't. I think we're overthinking this one, and I don't think it's necessarily has to be a debate or an argument. I just think, hey, if something doesn't get done that would normally be done by my wife, and I know she's doing something extra, I have zero issue helping. It doesn't impact my role as head of the household to help, if that makes sense. Go ahead, Lou.
I was just going to say, this is going to be a little controversial, what I'm about to say. It's not going to be super, but
okay.
I'm the man of my house. Regardless if she make more money, take on more responsibility, at the end of the day, I protect and fight and do everything that I'm supposed to do for this house. So
yeah, but
I'm
why
going to always be the man of this house.
Yeah,
maybe not somebody else's house, but my house. I'm the man of the house. So regardless to how much money, who make the most money, or whoever do whatever, I'm the man of this house. This is my kingdom.
I agree, but what does that have to do? Like, why was there an assumption that was under threat?
Because it was put in a situation as because she took more financial responsibility.
Nah, I think you're overthinking this, man.
It's still
Money
our
is-
house. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
It
It's
will
still
always be.
our house, regardless to because positions or things that go on in the house, they change.
Yeah.
So
I think that's what
sometimes you might
everybody's
have to
saying.
do, you know what I'm saying? You might have to do a little bit more than what you did. But at the same time, it's still with order in the house. The house don't work unless it's order.
But that's not under threat because somebody's working, man. Here's a good comment.
Definitely.
Here's a good
But
comment.
see,
I've been married 18 years, and as things change, we change. We are the ultimate team. If she's tired and I can't do something she normally take care of, I pick up the slack. That's vice versa.
Definitely.
I think we're over. There's something else going on here that I don't think is necessary. Oh, Mel's back. I didn't let you up because it said that your device wasn't connected. Oh, and then you drop back down. Right. But anyway, we kind of got a little off to the side.
No, but speaks. But what I'm saying, okay, well, with the topic you talking about, I tell my daughter that you can't compete with a man.
Why do you assume there's a competition? If you're married, it's not a competition.
Yeah, what I mean is as far as sports and just in general.
Yes.
She can't compete with a man in life because she's not strong enough. She's not fit. She's not in that position because there is.
Can you come up real quick in the back? I won't pull you up until you can back down.
That is a natural position. You know what I'm saying? Is God, man, woman, child.
Yes, but I think you're holding that. You're very concretely applying that, and it's not always.
No.
It doesn't have to be that.
We are supposed. Hey, when it comes to a household speaks, we are supposed to switch positions and help each other out if we want a successful home.
And I think that's what everybody's saying. STG, can you cam up real quick so I can? All right, awesome. You can cam back down. I'll let you up. All right, STG.
STG,
design. What's going on?
That's good people.
What's happening?
That's good people.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I just wanted to. So the reason why we keep harping on this issue that I'm seeing is we keep hearing that I'm a man. The most manly thing I can do is support my wife when she can't. That's the most manly thing I can do. The most womanly thing she can do is lean on me when decisions have to get made instead of doing it herself, right?
Yep.
So the roles in my household, they don't change no matter what the economic situation is, no matter if she's making more money at a time, if I'm making more money at a time, whatever the money situation is, every role in my house stays the same. We are a team. Right. So the way my kids operate or see us operate is a well-oiled machine in the way we deal with them, the way we deal with the cleanliness of our home, the way we get up and go to work every single day without excuse. Everything has to work as a well-oiled machine in this household. And I don't have to, tell anybody that I'm a man. She don't have to tell anybody that I'm a woman or I'm feminine or anything like that. When you walk into my house, you know that everything is structurally sound because the man and the woman of the house that is the main unit got everything under control together.
And you'll see that in how the kids roll and how the parents, listen to your mother. Like the roles don't have to change. And I think, I'll give a real short example just to show what I'm saying. If your wife, God forbid, goes through something and has a life-changing event, you don't still have her do the things that she was doing before. Why? Because it's not what we're doing right now. That doesn't mean when she's back to health, she doesn't go back to doing whatever she was doing. I think we're focusing way too much on this man versus woman thing. It doesn't have to be that. Oh, Mel's back. Cool.
STG is right though.
Yeah, I mean
that's the same thing I said, but it was just in a different manner. He said it
going on right now. That sucks.
He said it the right way. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
That's the natural order of
it's always
of
going to
house.
be it. I just don't think we have to make that proclamation when it's a given.
No, the men don't make that proclamation.
It's just what it is.
No, we say this is what it is. This is how it's going to work, and the program is going to work or it's not. You know, we have to work together to build. If we don't work together, we can't build. So if you're not with the program, then you're not a part of the process. You know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's all I'm saying.
The biggest problem that we have in the time that we're in right now, right, is, you know, it goes back to your part of the beginning of your video where they were describing, you know, talking about men getting to women's sports and women not wanting to say what a woman really is. They don't want to answer a direct question, and the lines are blurred. In the day and age that we're in right now, right? So I will tell you, younger men, they don't go through this. They don't go through this, you know, this conversation because the roles are blurred. They accept everything that they see in front of them, what's going to make them socially acceptable in school. Now, the way we grew up as, you know, men in our 40s and our 50s or even older, you know, sometimes we feel like we got to say, I'm a man. You know, I'm that guy. The way I say my household is going to run, that's how it's going to run. And this and that and the other, because that's what it validates us. Right. So the whole point of what I was saying is in a marriage that I've been in for 18 years with the ups, downs, the lefts, the rights, the all the craziness, you know, you mentioned if a spouse dealt with a certain situation when my wife had breast cancer, my wife didn't have to do nothing. She didn't have to do nothing.
And it shouldn't be expected that she
had to pick
more.
up a finger. She had to lift her finger. She had to wash nobody's clothes. She had to do nothing. So that's and that was me being a man.
That doesn't make you less of a man or say that, you know, you got to find somebody else to do these things.
Right.
Yeah. Right. That's awesome.
Yeah, hey, SCG, I'm with you on that. I was just saying that the roles are definite when it comes to certain households. They're definite because in the older generation, that's how it was.
Okay.
You know, the older men had to take care of, you know what I'm saying? Like our grandfathers, they did what they were supposed to do and they took care of the house.
He's coming back up. Mel, hopefully he's coming back up.
You're right. My grandfather was the coolest dude. Went to work every single day, came home to a hot meal, didn't have to lift a finger. But I guarantee you, if my grandmother needed help with something, he'd be the first one right there with her doing it.
Same here. So he did the extra job with no question. He just did it because that was his job.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm sorry about that, man. My computer my internet would do a system reboot at that time.
No, apologize, man.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up, SCG, I grew up old school like you. So me and my household running the same thing. So, you know, I was getting what you were saying.
So what I was gonna say about and I'm glad Amber's back up here. But what
Is that my mic?
I don't know who's mic. I'm trying to see. I think it's Amber.
I'll go on mute, bro. Let me know if it's me.
I'm gonna pull Amber. I'm gonna pull you down. You're not gone, but you're just down. But for some reason, it won't even let me mute her mic. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Mel.
So what I was saying was, when you get married, and like I said, and the conversation I had to have with my wife was, my role as the person who does the mulch and the protector of the house, because my wife called me at 9:00 last night, 2 nights ago, to come home because I was out watching the game. She said that she had heard a noise. So she trusts me to have that role and that responsibility.
Yeah.
So I don't expect that role to change. And I say, well, hey, honey, you're now equal in the household, so you need to check yourself, or you need to go out and mulch yourself. So where I disagree with a lot of the assertion of my position is the belief that I don't believe in stepping up in the household. I think that the roles doesn't have to change just because your spouse is working. If
Yeah.
my wife is the person who gets the groceries, nothing has to change about that. If I'm the person who goes out and does the mulching, nothing has to change about that. Now, if my back is hurting and it was hurting 2 weeks ago, my wife stepped up like the queen that she is, and she did a lot of stuff around the house. But what I do to help her out is every day I come home and I pick the kids up from school. So just because my wife works, and so I think there was a misnomer of the fact that I said that my role, my expectation for my wife to still get groceries or still do the things around the house she did before she got a career doesn't, because I don't believe it should change, because my role didn't change.
Did you think it was going to change?
No, I didn't. No, that's the thing. It wasn't supposed to change. If you are a biblical person, the man is the head of the household. The man is the provider of the household. The man is if we don't have enough money, I'm going to find a way to make sure we have. I don't want to put that stress on my wife. But then at the same time, my wife is the nurturer. My wife is the one who really is there to handle some of the things that I don't even think about handling myself. So I give pushback because I think a lot of Black women, and I say that with a stereotype, have a perception of belief that if we bring in the same income, we should do the same things. And that's not the way biblically it was designed. And no other race has that same expectation that they put on men for some odd reason. And I just don't agree with the idea that because my wife makes more money or now is making money, therefore I should be derelict in my duties of being the strong head of the household, and she should be up, her duties should be raised up, and I should be the one expected to do things that I would normally do because she's working. So that's my position.
So let me ask you, why do you think that that's going to happen? Because she's simply making more money. It doesn't mean anything. Money is for the household regardless.
This is the point I was making, is my wife took on a new responsibility that she wasn't used to doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so because she took on that new responsibility that I've been doing for 9 years in terms of, boom, busting it up and going to work on a, 8-hour day or 9-hour day. So now she gets an experience of that. So yeah, she's going to be a little bit more tired when she comes home. And, so I make sure the dishes are washed, but I still expect my wife. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm going to wash the dishes from now on. She sees some dishes, she still needs to wash them. You know what I'm saying?
I think you're being too concrete on tasks. This is not a task conversation. This is a marriage conversation.
That's what I'm saying.
But he's talking about marriage, Joe Speaks.
No, this is not. That's not.
No. I'm using the task as an example because I'm using the task as an example of. So my expectation of what I'm supposed to do, and I ain't talking about women wash the dishes and be in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant. I love cooking. So my wife, listen, one thing my wife knows is between me and her, I make better fried chicken. So, but I love cooking. But what I'm saying is the responsibilities that we had when we got into this marriage, and I had for 9 years, just because she has a career, shouldn't change. But unfortunately, a lot of women who gain careers or go into marriage and careers do not understand that their husbands or their spouses already have a predetermined expectation about what their role is as a provider and leader in the household, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
So I'm still trying to figure out why you assumed it would change. And did you jump ahead of this or did you start seeing changes? I'm trying to understand why the conversation
I never assumed it would change. I'm saying my wife changed. It caught me for a loop. I had to sit down and have a conversation with her. It wasn't supposed to change for me. I'm saying she gained a freedom that she wasn't used to having in terms of, not a freedom. She gained a responsibility.
I'm with Mel Dub. I'm with Mel Dub 100% because I comprehend what he's saying.
I had to catch that. Go ahead.
Yeah, Lou. You guys are articulating it in a way that would ever be received.
No, I comprehend what Mel Dub is saying.
But the delivery is where it's gonna go wrong.
Listen, I gotta say this. Sometimes you gotta make it plain. And I think that's the problem, because we always have to sugarcoat conversations with people. We always have to be not. Why do our women have to have the nice well, honey, maybe you should. No, sometimes you gotta make. My wife is playing with me. Why can't I be playing with her?
Yeah,
Why do we
exactly.
always?
Second you boo says delivery is important in a marriage. I don't know
No,
how
it's no. Delivery is not important because on both sides, the man look, the man and the
Go ahead,
woman.
Lou.
Well,
If the man and the woman they come to an agreement and decide to marry each other, the agreement is set. I'm gonna take care of you. You love me. So when it change, the rules, the negotiations still don't change.
And let me say this: me and my wife, we are very happy with our marriage and the way our marriage has worked out. And it may not work for everybody, but it's working for me. I've been married for 10 years.
I've been married a lot longer than that.
I got you by 6 or 5.
Yeah, this is an interesting conversation because I wasn't expecting this to go this way. It's just fascinating to me. I've never had to look at these things this way. It's just what it is. So I don't have to make the proclamation. I don't have to say, hey, you still have to do this. I still have to do this. It's just what it is. It's a no-brainer that I'm going to go to work. It's a no-brainer. I don't care how hurt I am. It's a no-brainer how bad my back is. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. If there's a noise, I'm going to do what I have to do. It doesn't have to be discussed. So when you guys are discussing, it's very interesting to me to hear.
But see, the thing of we're saying,
hey, Mel, oh, my bad.
No, you good, bro. But we're saying the quiet part out loud. You're right. In your home, there are things that ought to be discussed. But we're talking as men and ladies who are on the panel. We're talking as people who aren't married to each other. So I don't have to tell my wife, honey, if there's a noise in the house, I'm supposed to go check it out.
For sure. We ain't discussing that.
But at the same time, it doesn't make me a chauvinist or misogynist if my wife's been washing the dishes at 6 o'clock at night at the same time that just because she has a job now, why should I have to start washing the dishes?
So
I ain't washing no goddamn dishes.
Look, I got my sons washing them dishes too.
Hey, for sure. Hey, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing.
I put my boys to work already.
But what I was gonna say was, women are the only ones who say, I make more money, so I need to ease up on the things that I need to do, but men don't never do it.
Heard that.
Can you all hear me?
Oh yeah, Amber, you got it.
Can you hear me?
Lou,
Okay,
you're
I
right
just
on
want to
that.
make sure.
Yes, we can hear you.
Go ahead, Amber.
Wait, what you say, Mel? Sorry, what you say?
I said you're right on that, Lou. But go ahead, Amber.
Oh, okay.
And don't go back to.
You're kind of breaking. You're in the matrix.
Take the power. We'll just.
She in the water.
Yeah. So that internet funny all over the U.S.
I guess, yeah, everybody can.
Hey, Mel, you not negotiating what your position is, right?
No, I don't have to. I don't have to. My wife wouldn't negotiate it with me.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I clearly should. My iPhones keep failing me, so my iPods keep failing me. So it must not.
No, sister, you're clear now.
You're good now.
I'm gonna say once again, an opportunity was missed. Your wife wouldn't have gone back to work if she was fulfilled in the roles that you all had. So yes, I agree that there are roles in the house, but it may not, you may not intend for this to come across as misogynistic and narcissistic, but it 100% does to most women that are listening to the call. I understand my role, but for me, I want to retire my husband. Not that he hasn't been an amazing provider, not that I know he can't provide for me. I want something different for him. So when, but again, it's these missed moments to hear what's not being said. And I will say that when you guys didn't have a conversation about what her going back to work was going to look like, I'm going to say as a wife, you all failed each other by not having the conversation. How are we assuming? You made an assumption, and this is mind blowing to me.
Well, then
My
Hey, sister,
position
can I say something
is
to you, sister?
mine. And let me
But
say
let me
one
go
other
first
thing.
this time, bro,
Let me
please.
say
Okay, go
one
ahead.
other thing. Let me say
Hmm.
one other thing. The
Hmm.
reason that I hopped on this live and the reason that I said what I said when I initially got on the call was because it was all tied to a dollar amount. That's
Yeah.
the reason why. It doesn't matter who is making what. I appreciate the fact that you are showing up and providing, right? But in the same breath, like if your wife was making more than you are making and you're both outside the same number of hours in a day, there's still this assumption that she still needs to wash those dishes at 6 o'clock. I can't wrap my brain around that.
Okay, can I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead, Lou.
My wife eventually started making more money than me, but most of our marriage, I've been making the money. And when I came into a position where I couldn't, the money don't mean nothing because I still have to do what I have to do. And I didn't argue my position. And when she started arguing her position is when it's like, you have no position to argue because I've been doing my
Now,
position.
okay.
So
Now
now
I
it's
see where
your
this is
turn.
coming from. I get it. Now I see where this is coming from.
No,
So
not in a chauvinistic way, but I'm just
no.
saying
I hear what you're
because
saying.
I
Your
hold my
experience,
position.
yes, your experience
I've been in
is
this.
why
I've been in
you're
this for some years.
got it.
Not no baby years. I'm talking about some lifetime,
Got
a
it. I understand
generation
now.
years.
I
So
was
what
trying
I'm
to figure
saying
out where you guys
is
were coming
that
from. Got it.
what you do doesn't change anything because it's still the house run the same way it run. You just making a little bit more money.
Right.
And let me respond. Let me
Okay, yeah,
respond
go ahead.
to Amber because she asked that question, and I'm gonna say this to you, sister, in the most loving way that I can. I don't care if I sound misogynist to you. I do not care. I think that's one of the most overused and overly sensitive metrics that are used to divide Black men and Black women. No other race has that conversation about feeling misogynist or marginalized the way when they empower our Black women. It should never come at the detriment of Black men. My wife embraces the fact that she is the nurturer of the home. She takes more pride in how this house looks when it gets cleaner than I do. So she's not going to even give up that role if it was there. I'm definitely not a misogynist in her eyes, but what I am is the protector and provider. I don't expect those roles to be switched. Now, with that being said, also, the issue is not about a dollar amount if my wife makes more money than me. The issue is if the roles were established when you got married, just because another partner takes on another job doesn't mean now the roles have to be switched, whereas I need to be the stay-at-home mom and my wife needs to be the one that goes out and works. We all had roles in life when we got married, and those roles have always been respected. So when another partner acts out of accordance to the roles that have always been there that preceded. So to Lou's point, I provided for my house for 8 years by myself. And I never once said, well, honey, because I provide, you need to do this. But when my wife
Damn
becomes
right.
a partner in that situation, she made that mistake with me that we had to have that conversation. Okay. So my marriage works for me. And it's been working, like I said, 10 years strong. Salute to you and your marriage. If your husband approaches it that way, that's great for him. But I salute anybody who believes in the aspect of traditional marriage. And if we believed in that more so, we wouldn't have a 75% divorce rate in this country now. And we wouldn't have a lot of single parenthood in our communities that we have.
Preach.
So for clarity though, you're the one that said misogyny. I didn't bring that word up. I don't use that word in my normal everyday conversations. You brought that word up. And previously, you used the example of getting groceries. So in my mind, that's a really simple task.
I
So
don't argue with my
maybe
wife about
so
groceries.
so maybe it's a simplification of the example that you used. But just to be clear, you brought those terms up. I did not. And the example that you gave like I said before, to me sounds like a missed opportunity because it's just groceries. Like you can order the groceries and have them be delivered.
We don't do shipped or things like that because it's one is a waste of money, and two, why have somebody do that
It's
service?
free at Walmart.
Yeah, but why do it when you can go out and
has
do
a
it?
question. Checking You
Go
Boo
ahead.
has a question for you guys. So I have a question for Lou and Mel. If both of you finish your daily duties and decide to watch TV while your wife's still cleaning and tired, do you help her?
Hell yeah. What would I look like?
Okay, so you guys understand the way you're coming off.
I didn't answer, but I'm gonna let y'all go.
Okay, go ahead, Lou. Go ahead, Lou.
I was gonna say, our house is our house. When it's time to do things, is what it is. Like, I don't ask help to protect. I don't ask help to go outside and tend to the garden. I don't do that. Like, we have specific
No to her
roles.
question?
Wait, say that again.
So you would answer no to Checking You Boo's question?
I wouldn't say necessarily no, but what I'm saying is, and I'm not going to ask for help for the things that I need to do, regardless of what shift I work. Because if it need to be done, I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to ask for help. I'm just going to do it, regardless of. Nah, hey, look, I don't vacuum or wash dishes. Them the two things I don't do in my house. I ain't washing one dish. I ain't vacuuming. Hey, look. Okay, look.
So that
Okay,
question though, would you help her?
No, not at all. No. If she asked me, I would. No, if she asked me, listen. If my wife asked me to do something, I'll do it because that's what I'm supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? But as far as something that needs to be done in the house and you don't feel like doing it, don't do it because I ain't doing it. You know what I'm saying?
So Checking You Boo had a follow-up, vice versa question for you two. If you're if you are off work due to having a major accident and disabled to function to any aspect, do your wives follow, or do your wives allow your responsibilities to be neglected? Should she pick up the slack?
And my answer is yes, but I'm gonna go back to that first question to respond. The reason why I would help, but it does sometimes have to be an asked help because sometimes so a lot of times women, a lot of times in marriages, women and men, we get frustrated at our spouses because we think that they're supposed to do something. And so because we think they're supposed to do it, sometimes it's a lot easier just to tell them to do it. There's never been a time my wife asked me, honey, can you bring in the groceries? I'm like, hell no. But sometimes I don't think about it. So I would say I help because I try to help as much as I can because if it's available for me to do, I'm going to do it, but I'm not thinking about it at that very moment. But in terms of
my wife could ask me anything and I'll do it. Just because she asked me to do it, I'll do it. But I ain't washing no dishes.
I'm gonna bail out. I'm gonna bail out on this because I again can't wrap my mind around some of it. I'm just gonna leave you guys with this. I think that we miss opportunities to support our spouses. And again, this may not apply to you all, but because you're talking about your marriages, we get to talk about it, right?
Yes,
so I
ma'am.
get to offer, you don't have to agree with it, but I get to offer thoughts about it since you brought, you guys came on the panel and you had these discussions. I think that the weight of a woman and not saying that weight is not as great, right, for the husband. But I think it is a lot to nurture. And I think being so strong, the strong men that you are, I just think that there are often times where opportunities are missed to support your wives in ways that will earn you 100-fold return. I'm just going to say that again. I don't have to deal with that in my marriage, and I am not the breadwinner. I don't do all of those things, but I mean, I do go to work. But and I just, like I said, I think that there were some missed opportunities to support your wife specifically.
Can I ask you a question when you finish, please?
Of course. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
So if your husband lost his position in your household, would you treat him any less than the man that?
So that's
No, wait. I ain't finished.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
would you deplenish his position in your house just because he fell out of his position, or would you still allow him to be the, or not even allow, but would you say he's still the man of the house?
So for clarity, my husband will forever be the head of my house. If he had
Okay.
no legs, no arms, he is still a head of my house. And everybody that lives inside that home would respect him as such. Period,
Okay.
point blank. Like, it has, him being the head of the house doesn't have anything to do with the things that he does. It's the position that God gave him for me.
Okay.
Now, I know how to shoot a gun. So if somebody rolls through my house and he don't get to him first, I'm going to protect our house.
Yeah,
Right?
I get it.
Until he can hop in. So this has nothing to do with what he does that makes him the head of our house. It's who God placed him to be in our lives. Period. Point blank. So that go ahead.
Amber, can I ask you a question then, since Lou just asked
Absolutely.
one?
Sure.
If your husband didn't have a job and he wasn't working, would you have married him?
If he didn't have a job and he wasn't working, I mean, it depends on what the situation was, to be quite honest with you. It depends
What
on
about just love though?
Listen, I have to still feed my children. They still have to eat. So
Wait,
at the
are
time,
those his children or just
let's
the
go back.
husband?
At that point in time, at that particular point in time, I didn't need anybody who was going to make more money than I did and all of that. I was barely making it with me and my kids. So whoever came on, I couldn't take on that burden. So if I had enough money to handle me and him, the great person that he was, would I have married him? It would have been a thought. I would have considered it. I cannot tell you, because that was so many years ago, what I would have done. I will honestly tell you, I wasn't in a position at that time to take on that responsibility.
But sister, you would concede that him being a provider financially was a factor in your decision to marry him.
We both worked and made the same almost amount of money.
I know,
Sir.
Amber, and I don't mean to cut you off, sister, but I'm asking
He
just
was
a question.
He was a provider and a contributor, because we couldn't live off of one person's income at that time. So I had to work. Now, there were times where I didn't have to work. He held it down and ran with it. But there were times we both have to work. Starting off, I was early in my career. We both had to go to work.
And so you don't think you would have
different.
respected him a little bit less?
No, I'm
If
not.
y'all,
Listen,
hold on, let me land my plane. Hold on, sister. You don't think you would have respected him a little bit less if y'all started that marriage off and you wouldn't have, so in all honesty, you wouldn't have looked at him a little bit less of a man if you were the provider in y'all marriage starting off and he didn't work?
No, I can't say that I would have looked at it. He wouldn't have been someone that I would have been interested in, because
So
that's
it was a
not one of
factor.
the things.
Exactly.
No. But
That's exactly.
let's back
Well,
up.
you got it, Amber. Go ahead.
You're not hearing what I'm saying. I couldn't take on that financial responsibility. So there was no, he wouldn't have fell into the bucket. But if I made all of the money, I don't know what my mindset would have been. I couldn't take on someone who couldn't take care of themselves at that time.
But
My
Amber,
goal is to retire him.
But Amber, that's the point where I think it goes back to my original point. See, when I married my wife, I married her because she was a knockdown, gorgeous, beautiful woman inside and out. She was hold on, wait, hold on. She was an intelligent woman. She is an intelligent woman. And I knew that this woman was going to be the person that I could trust with my children's life more than I trust with myself. Me thinking about financially was never a factor in me making that determination. Could I carry the load for my family? As a man, I was going to make that work regardless. So that's the important thing that I'm talking about. If the dishes need to be washed at 6 o'clock and I'm the type of guy that's going to provide for my wife regardless, yeah, the dishes need to be washed at 6 o'clock. I'll go on.
So,
let
me jump in.
So let me ask a question. Were you able to provide for your wife solely when you married her?
Yes, because I had to take on 2 other jobs. I was a coach, and then I also had to Uber because to make everything work. So I actually had to take on more of a responsibility just to do that. So because I didn't look at her and say, you need to do this, you need to provide, you need to contribute, because that's my job as a man.
Let me jump in real quick.
Go ahead, brother.
Because I don't know any woman who would jump into a
y'all hear me?
situation with a man who's not an earner to begin with. So that, to me, that's not even a man worth.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I can't hear Tito now.
You got something else going on in your background, STG.
Dude, I can't hear Matito now.
All right. So the point I want to make is, if you're a man who doesn't have a job, why would you expect a woman to marry you? Like, that's not a man who's ready to be married. So the question to me is already flawed when you ask her, would she marry a husband or a guy who's not even capable of taking care of themselves? It's kind of it's a non-starter in most women's eyes, and we look at different things when we're getting married. You listed off the things that the women or the woman would have to be for you to even consider to be married, or your specific woman, right? They're looking at, can this person provide? Can this person take care of me? If he's already to a point where he can't take care of himself, there's no reason for her to even consider marrying him. Like, so that's why I'm like, that was a confusing question to me, because it should be a non-starter for any woman. It damn sure better for my daughters, because if they come home, I don't care who the guy is. If he doesn't have a job, she's not marrying a guy off of potential. That's not a man. He's not ready. So you looking at your wife, based on appearance and brains and nurturing ability and what she would look like as a mother, that's what we look for. That's not what they look for. They're not looking, they don't look at us for our potential. They look at us for who we are, and then you can build more towards that potential. So
is that not potential though?
It's not a question that any woman's going to answer and say, yeah.
Is that not potential though? O Speaks, like a man who has a job and he has everything going good for himself, but he just not a good guy. Is that not potential too?
He's not ready to marry a woman. He's not ready to have the woman and children up under him. Okay,
let me ask one more question and I'll be quiet. Were you the expectation of the man that son, the father of your wife, were you potential? Were you just giving graces, or you had to earn it?
Earn it to who? To my wife?
To the father.
No, he had to know. He had to understand. We pass our daughters off to another man. If this guy doesn't have a job,
I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about you.
That person. Huh?
So you were given the rights to say, I trust my daughter with you, and the father was willing to give his daughter away to you.
Absolutely, I've done it twice now.
Okay, no.
Yeah. There's no way my daughter's marrying a guy who doesn't have a job, unless No, I'm just asking, bro. I'm not. I'm just asking the question because we're on the panel. I'm just asking. Yes. And when we hit a certain age, we know, guys know when, okay, it's about that time. I need to get my life in order before I find this woman, not after I find her. Because to me, it just doesn't make sense why any woman would find a provider who can't provide for himself.
But that's my entire point of the whole origin when I'm talking about washing the dishes at 6 o'clock. Let me get back to that. What I'm saying is this: a man had so much more responsibility on him to even be considered married worthy. Mm-hmm. Whereas nobody expects the wife to bring this to the table, and all these other different intangibles.
They do.
A woman is the most important aspect of life because she's a giver of life. She's the nurturer. She is far more superior and stronger than anything I could have ever done. But at the same time, me being a provider, my wife had to choose me to know that I could do those things. Yes. So if your wife or your spouse, when you go into a marriage and you don't trust your spouse to be those things, you're obviously going to think that y'all are co-equal in that marriage when you're not even starting off co-equal, because he had to meet all these other hoops just to be involved with you. So
can I just say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
But that wasn't so for me and my husband. There was an expectation that I was able to at least walk in the door being able to take care of myself. Now he took that load from me. But if I couldn't take care of myself, and again, I had, I had children coming into the marriage. If I couldn't take care of myself and my children outside of him even considering being a person in my life, I mean, that's grown folk stuff. Like I have to be able to provide for my children, right? If I find myself in a situation where I'm not married, right? So if I wasn't even able to do for them, it would be the same thing that you guys are talking about. Like I don't understand. And maybe my situation's different from yours and how you guys started off, but
No, Amber,
no.
I
A
actually
woman, a
There
woman
was
who,
the same financial requirement was there
but
on
Amber,
my end.
what I was going to say is I applaud you for considering that, because to me that is what you are supposed to do, because we're talking about role establishment here. That's the whole origin of this discussion we're having. As a woman looking for a husband, you got to look for a provider and somebody who
No, no.
can contribute, and someone who can contribute that you don't have to take care of. As a man, for me, I had to look for somebody I could provide for. So we have those role
But
establishments for a reason.
can
So
I?
when I go to work and then and now my wife is working, the roles don't need to change just because now we both have careers. I'm still the provider. She still is the dependent. That circles back to
okay,
my whole
that
point that the dishes need to be washed at 6 o'clock.
The dependent.
this
I do. Hey, I do want to
terminology is
ask. Can I?
wearing
Can
me
I ask?
out.
Can I add
It
something
is
to that, please?
100% wearing me out because okay, all right.
No, hey,
Like I
sister. Hey,
said,
sister. Hey, sister. I'm about
I'm
to
gonna
say
have to
something
go.
for you
Go
though.
ahead. I'm gonna go. Yes, go
Hey,
ahead. Go
sister.
ahead.
Look. Hey, if you a hustler and I'm a hustler, we gonna get rich. I ain't thinking about none of that other stuff. You hustle, I hustle. We gonna do what we still play a part in the house. You can
Yeah.
hustle all you. Hey, look, you can hustle all you want to. Make that money. Do your thing. Do what you supposed to do, and I'm gonna do mine, and we gonna get rich. But you know what I'm saying? If you looking for a provider, you ain't gonna make no hustle. You ain't gonna make no moves because you dependent on somebody else to cover. You know what I'm saying? The money gonna go crazy. You gotta have somebody who match you. So if y'all match
But
each other, y'all gonna make the proper moves and the proper decisions together, and y'all gonna make it happen. But
yes.
it
OT,
still
please
rolls.
do
It still rolls on top of that though.
please do a part two when I have the time to sit and have this conversation without being rushed. I do want to say that when I made the comment about my husband requiring that I had an income, that was an income requirement. That was a requirement outside of what
Yeah.
was stated earlier. I just want to say that. But I'm gonna go, y'all, in these terms. God bless you
Hey,
all.
look. Hey, don't get triggered by the term, sister.
No,
I see
I'm not.
SCG.
So
Yeah,
I'm not. Trust
you
me
can
when I
calm down,
say
SCG.
I
Were
am
you
not.
offended by what I said?
No, 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 no,
You can
no.
calm down,
I
SCG. I got you.
I wouldn't want. My children are dependent. I am not. So I was when I was
SCG,
like you
you can
guys with
calm
those
down.
terms. I'm like that's. I wouldn't. If I was making more, I wouldn't call my husband a dependent. Like he's not my dependent. He's my partner, my spouse, my husband. But we please do a part two. I need to come back. I have so much to say, but I do need to go get my littles. God
If
bless
he
you guys.
say live, I'm gonna be here with you. So I want you to understand. I grew up a different way, so I get what you're saying. But it's also some parts that play in it though.
STG, you're up.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
will.
and can
I'm.
I respond to checking you, boo, real quick?
Yes,
Well, can
yes,
I?
yes.
Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead, SCJ.
Well, I was just gonna say that what we're what I'm not hearing is in this conversation is Amber is trying to explain a partnership to where what I'm hearing from the other side is my partnership is contingent on her knowing her role
That's not true.
and me
That's what it
knowing my
sounds like.
role and staying in our roles. But you know, you guys have been married about as long as I have, if I heard correctly. 18 years I've been married, and I mean, in my marriage, roles have changed depending
I
on
said that.
depending on the circumstance. But you also said, brother, you ain't doing no dishes. So and you
Damn
ain't
right.
vacuuming
I
the
sure
floor.
ain't doing no damn dishes. Hey, I stand on that.
But
Shit.
what I'm saying
I
is,
stand on
what I'm saying is,
that.
in my relationship with my family of 4, right? There is
Mhm.
nothing that I am not willing to do. As far as a man being a provider, there ain't nothing that I ain't nothing legally that I ain't willing to do to go out there and get the money I need to make sure my household runs successfully.
Right.
But
Sometimes,
in
allegedly, if you have to.
that, my wife is the same way. My wife has that same mentality. Is we do what we got to do to make this ship run smoothly and flawlessly. And like I said, the roles that we have in our relationship, and you couldn't, if she was on here right now, she'd tell you that I am the man of my household, right? She'll tell you that all day, every day, right? That
So,
role never
STG,
changed.
can I ask you a question, brother?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
What's the difference between a role in the house and a partnership in the house?
So what I'm hearing, this is what I'm trying to explain what I'm hearing, because I'm hearing is where I'm steadfast in this role. This is what my job is, and my job ain't gonna change, and and I don't expect, she shouldn't expect her job to change depending on a circumstance that changes, right? That's what I hear. I might be wrong, but that's what I hear when I'm
Yeah, that's
listening.
what it sounds like.
Yeah,
Right?
I agree. That's what it is.
Right. So, but what I'm saying is in this partnership, in this lifelong partnership, roles have to be flexible. They have to be flexible, because if not, somebody gonna be miserable at some point in their life. Brother, if you lose your job and you solely dependent on her income, and you're the man of the household, you gonna feel some type of way about yourself because you're not fulfilling that role, right?
And that's what I was going to say, that STG. So how can you feel like you're a man of the house if you're not the provider of the house?
No. I didn't say.
No.
So,
I'm just asking that
right,
question because you're
You
right. Because some men can lose a
You
job,
you can't.
and if they're not willing to go out and find another job, or willing to go out and work, and willing to go out and do the things to be the provider, how can they feel like they're fulfilling that role?
Well,
Because
now
there
we
is a
talk about a
role, right?
man who ain't worth the. Now we talking about a man who ain't worth the damn.
I
Because
got
if I
a
lose a
different question
job,
too.
let me
I can answer
finish
that
real quick.
question.
Let me finish real quick. If I lose
Yeah,
a
go ahead.
job, if I lose a job, and I'm gonna sit here and turn on the PlayStation 5 and wallow in me not having a job and not go out there, and because there's too much money out here in these streets for me not to, you said that I think it's Mel, you said that you Ubered at one point, right? Well, I think we all have.
I mean, I still got the app on my phone.
Not
Exactly.
me.
I got my business, and I got my side hustles, right? And so I make sure that there's always a strand of income no matter what the situation circumstance is. That's
for
the
sure.
man in me, right? But sometimes the situation calls for her to take on the provider role until that man can get on his feet.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
So
And
go ahead.
in
Yeah, my bad.
that role, right? I listened for a long time, so give me a second.
Mhm.
And in that period of time, right, we have to be flexible enough as the man to support her until we get the job again and we take on that role again, because that's the partnership. That's the, you got me when I ain't got it, I got you when I ain't got it, but neither one of us is gonna sit here and wallow in pity and not have it for too long. So that's where I'm talking about the partnership. The role has to change, or the household is going to be miserable, my man. You might be happy.
Last.
You might be happy,
STG,
but
in that
somebody not
same
going to be happy.
respect, but hold on, brother. In that same respect, the role, and you know what? And I'm gonna tell you right now, my wife has been phenomenal. She definitely has done some things that I needed her to do at times, and she's been phenomenal in that. But I got to say this: just because you say, okay, well, circumstances are going to happen, but if I needed my wife to step up in any type of way, my role as the head of the household doesn't change. I'm still
it doesn't.
No, it doesn't change.
Hold on, wait. I'm still the protector, right? I'm still the person that goes out and she buys a futon I'm sitting on right now that I had to spend 5 hours putting together. You know, so I'm still in those roles that I have, but now I'm taking on other roles that she normally would have too. You know, just because I'm not working doesn't mean that I'm still derelict in my house duties as the head of the household.
Correct. So let me say this because
wait, can I ask something real quick? Because I just wanted to add one. What if you already negotiated? You said these is the things I ain't doing.
No such thing, man.
This is a lifetime contract.
No. I'm just saying. No. What I'm saying is that you just said I'm not doing this, and they be like, and when it come to marriage, bro, it's some things that look. My wife ain't gonna never take the trash out. Never. She told my wife. My wife. Bro, my wife told me she ain't never taking the trash out, bro.
Okay, so let me say this.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Out of 15 years, my wife has never taken the trash out because she said I ain't never taking it out. Do you think she took the trash out of 15 years, bro?
But listen, Lou.
But what I'm saying, you get what I'm saying though.
But Lou,
you get what I'm saying though.
Lou, listen, I'm gonna tell you this. I got injured really bad, like really bad, right? To where I couldn't stand up without falling. My legs would give out on me. I had a severe concussion. My back was jacked up. My neck was jacked up, right? My wife went outside, pulled the lawnmower out, mowed the lawn, knocked down all the weeds where the weeds were. She took out the trash. She did everything that I could not do at that moment because I wasn't physically able, right? And like I told you before, when my wife had cancer, I did everything that she could not physically do because she wasn't able. Roles change, and there is nothing that is within this union, in this household, that I am not willing to do to make sure that this household runs if one of us can't do it. That there can't be.
I did say.
Hold on, Lou. 1 second. There is nothing concrete. That's not. You can't say I will never do dishes because what you're saying to your wife is, we'll just say you lose your job, right? You just lost your job and you're out for, we'll just say 6 months because it's depending on when you lose that job, it can be hard to find another job. You're saying, honey, take care of the household. You're still going to go to work, and when you get home, you need to do those dishes at 6 o'clock. That is not that is not realistic. And if you think it is, it's not going to last. Because if she doesn't say anything, that does not mean she's okay with it. Because our responsibility goes back to what Mel said, is still to do what we're supposed to do. But there's going to come a time where you cannot do it. To Jeffrey's point, to where you're injured and you're out. She's gonna do what she has to do. If that happens to her, you cannot say, honey, here, take your meds. You need to get up and do those dishes, dude. It's not gonna work.
I'm gonna tell you something about when you marry, bro. Like some things the wife gonna say she's never going to do.
What we say and what we do are two different things.
But what I'm saying is when the wife say it, it's imperative, and when the husband say it may not be as imperative, but the man still have to do his job.
It just means that I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure you don't have to do it. Doesn't mean you're never going to do it.
No, I'm not saying. No, what I'm saying it's okay with switching positions, but if there are certain lines that women say I'm not doing this, and it's a certain thing that men saying they're not doing this. So if you have an understanding, it coexists and it works, but it's still.
But to SGD's point, man, it's a partnership. And if you want to make your marriage work, and if your light's about to get cut off, you're going to do what you got to do as a couple collectively to make sure
that's right.
Be cut off.
For sure.
But collectively together. Just because you might say you're the man of the house, if you ain't got the money for the light bill and your wife do, she's going to pay for the lights.
And she doesn't turn into the man because she has to pay the lights. That's why.
Exactly.
But that's the problem. A lot of these
exactly
they become the man because they take on a responsibility that men have always taken care of, and that's where we have a lot of the breakdowns in a lot of marriages that I was trying to explain earlier. When you take on new responsibilities that you never taken before, that doesn't mean that you automatically become the man. And a lot of these women that lead to these divorce rates or these beta males that they marry,
Yep.
That's what happens with them, unfortunately.
Exactly.
Mel, can I tell you something? So my wife grew up in a household with women who were the breadwinners, and the men sat at home or was out in the streets, didn't do nothing. Her brothers lived off of her mama. They didn't ever have to work. Off of the her uncles lived off of grandmama. They didn't ever have to work. So I had to change my wife's view of what a man was, right? I had to let her know, because she didn't want to be with anybody that was like that. She wasn't going to take care of a man. That was her view, because that's how her childhood was when she grew up. So I had to change her view of that, and to secure her and letting her know that no matter what the circumstances was, that I was going to go out here and get it and do what I had to do to make sure that the household ran smoothly as a man. That's what I had to show her, right? And that's what made her comfortable with saying I do to me. And a lot of what you're saying, leads to that point. Is we have to, when most women are looking for men, they are looking for a provider in that role, right? And a lot of men, when they're looking for women, they're looking for a person to take care of the home, a companion, someone someone that's going to provide to be the nurturer, if they have children, things of that nature, right? So I understand where you're coming from. My biggest point in all this, right, was we have to make sure that we don't make the line so strong in the sand that it's a trench that says, I'm never crossing this line. This is your role. This is my role. And never is it to you to expect me to take on anything that you do. And never will you have to take on anything that I do, because life says different.
I hope you don't think that's what I was saying. I was just saying that, like,
you say you don't do dishes, Lou.
Hey.
You literally said what he just said.
Hey, I definitely don't. I definitely ain't did dishes. Hey, I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't did dishes in years, man. I don't mess with them.
If you haven't had to, that's awesome. But if the day comes,
I don't mess with them. But I do everything else in the house, though. I do everything else, though. I do everything else, bro. Like that's just one thing I don't do.
And let me answer this question to Amber. Amber said, which women? A lot. That's why we have a 75% divorce rate, and that's why we have record-breaking single-parent rates, particularly in the black community. So I don't play with appeasement. I play with reality and stats and facts. Now, I also want to say this as well too, because I see it day to day on a daily basis. Because a lot of kids have different names that I deal with than the names of their fathers or the names of their mothers. We have got to embrace the idea of familyhood in our families. There's no such thing as a birthing person. There's a mother, and we've lost that tradition, and we've lost that right, and we've lost that role and that responsibility, where we don't embrace that anymore. So now
we haven't lost the right yet.
But that's why you see so much problems. It's more problematic for us in the black community, especially because a woman who thinks career first, in my opinion, and not mother first, can't be a good mother. A father who thinks career first, but not father first, can't be a good father. But at the same time, if he's providing for his children, at least they have a roof over their head and they got food to eat. In my opinion, just looking at it from that perspective, we don't embrace the role of the mother in the home. And when you have the schools and you have society raising your children instead of your mom, Louis Farrakhan brought this point up very clearly. We have women in our communities now who don't even know how to cook dinners. They know how to send their kids to McDonald's and eat all this unhealthy stuff. But a lot of people don't even know how to cook dinners anymore for their children. And the mothers were the nurturers, and nurturers are the cooks. And I'm not saying women are supposed to cook, because like I said, I love to cook. But I am making a point here that if we don't get a grasp on the roles of familyhood, we're going to continue to see the problems we see with our children. And I see that firsthand. And I can speak as an expert on that.
But you're speaking to causation. And that's a really difficult thing to do, because it's not all on either. And you're correct in what you're saying, but the causation is where I'm like, I don't know about that. Because
in the culture,
I No. I still have my daughters. I have to prepare them for what they need to look for. The mother still has to prepare them for the things you're talking about. But if the father's not there, we need to look at why he's not there. Is it because of social safety nets? Is it because he's an idiot? If he's an idiot and the woman chose him, that's the father who did not show her right. This is what you're supposed to look for. So there's a lot more than just saying, women need
Don't
to
get into
learn how
daddy
to cook.
issues.
So why does
I want to say this to Checking You Boo real quick. She said Christ served, he didn't dictate. Christ said, I'm the way, the light, and the truth. Nobody enters heaven except through me. Christ absolutely did dictate when he needed to dictate. And that's biblical.
So what I want to ask is when the father, if the father is not there to bring balance to the house, why is the father the crime or the problem?
It depends on why he's not there. That's what I'm saying. We can't just say he's not there because the woman. We don't know. So
no, I'm saying because he don't want to be there either, though.
What's that?
I'm saying because if it's saying that he doesn't want to be there either. Every other culture in this world besides us, the women are in agreement with their men and they have a successful community. Every other culture, every single other culture, and I see it for myself, from the Indians to the Arabs to the Chinese to everybody. Their women are with them, and they're able to build and they're able to build and create and build legacies. But it's just our culture that has a difference.
And this goes back to the history of what's going on, because
exactly
we need to look at the causation. We can't just say women aren't doing this or men aren't doing this. We need to look at this is why this whole series that I'm doing is important, because the decisions started when I said they started, and it's bleeding over all the way to now. So you have men who don't know what being that provider is. You have women choosing the men who don't know what being a provider is, and that's causing what we're talking about here. It's not, there's not one person or another to blame. What's that, Mel?
No, I'll say exactly. And so what you see a lot of women unfortunately get placed in the roles where they're taking care of men who stay at home. We actually have an epidemic right now within the Black community. And Checking You Boo, you asked me for my source. Horace Mann, the great founder of public education, attributed to the point that women are the first teachers of our children. He didn't say men, he said women. When a child comes out of a woman's body, that mother automatically becomes the first teacher of that child. She teaches them how to eat. She teaches them how to be pacified. Mm-hmm. She teaches everything to that child. Now, to Amber's position saying that I'm not Christ, I didn't try to be Christ. What I did was make a point because somebody said that Christ didn't dictate, and I made a valid point that Christ does dictate. Now, you guys are getting emotional in this point, in this argument about it. I'm not getting emotional about it, but I will stand firm.
There's context to what you're saying, so you can't just throw out a quote like that and expect people to say, "Oh, okay, that's what it is." So,
but you can't you can't make a statement like that either. So, to be fair, you can't say you're not Christ. But then, if I make a point where I'm saying, "Well, no, this is what Christ said," we can.
No, because he said, "I am the way." He didn't say you, Mel, you're the way.
No, I know. He said,
I understand both. I understand both sides. I understand both sides. What I'm saying is, I think we're getting off. We've been off track, but the conversation's been good, so I've just been following.
This conversation about transgender.
Yeah, but this has been a really good conversation. It's almost an hour or 2.5 hours.
My daughter ain't playing no man.
But I got on the marriage.
My daughter ain't playing no man or someone who wants to proclaim. I told my daughter if that was a man at one time, don't compete.
So
and that was it, because we have an advantage as men. We have an advantage, a physical advantage, in every aspect of life, because we built a world. We built a world, bro. So that's all I'm saying. That women have helped.
Left turn and get right back.
You went right back to the athletics.
I know you said we're getting off base, but I got to.
No, but it's been good. But
yeah, we're getting off base, but I got to respond to that comment where Christ does not dictate. I just say, just because Christ is not going to accept people in heaven if they don't follow him. That is a dictation. I don't like when people play with the Bible like that. I'm not sitting here playing with the Bible, and I'm not trying to be God. But let's not just throw statements out like that, because Christ was a dictator. That was the whole purpose of following him and following his Father.
I'm sorry, Mel. I gotta disagree on that, man.
Everything
is choice. You have to accept Christ in order for the things you're saying to be true. Not to be true, but to play out the way you might want them to. But you can easily reject it. So
but that's my argument I'm making. Dictation doesn't mean there's no choice. I'm saying Christ said you need to do this. You have to do this. That's a dictation. But if people choose to do it, that's on them. So I don't,
I don't do this if you're missing the if part.
So I'm not playing. I don't play semantics on religion.
But that's not dictation. Literally, it's a choice. That's what faith is. It's a choice. He did not dictate you follow me now.
But he didn't say, but Jesus didn't say, if you would like to follow me, it's I would like for you to follow me, but if you don't, it's okay. See, that it's a dictation.
Okay, but he didn't.
But it's a dictation.
We wouldn't have a choice.
What you need to do.
Right. Dictation means you don't have a choice.
We just we have a disagreement on the wording of it. But dictation. Say what?
My granddad taught me that a person who ain't learned about the religion that you know about, do they have the same access to heaven as you? And my granddad told me, you got to look for yourself. So we all on the same path. At the end of the road, it's still in at the same place. It's just a different path. So we still end at the source. So the semantics about the Jesus or God or Muhammad or whatever, which one it is, it still leads to the same place. So that's
but
I'm just saying, bro, like we can't denounce somebody else because they don't know or they don't believe.
You can believe.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Like regardless, the path still ends at the same place. Whichever way you follow, bro. Hey, it's a beginning. It's a beginning and end. You can have a million. What I mean by so let me be clear when I say the end. The end means death.
Okay.
So it all ends to the same place. That's what I mean by the end. The end means death. So whatever religion you believe in is still ending death. So you still at the end gotta meet your name or whatever. So
Speaks, this is the last point I'm gonna say, and I'll be done with it. You are exactly right. Christ said, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
But in Ephesians, it also states that wives should be submissive to their husbands. There is a balance in this marriage that God has gave us, that we have screwed up this blueprint that has worked and that used to work for our family dynamic that no longer works. Marriage is a trial for so many people. And it's because so many people aren't willing to follow the Christ model of what marriage should look like. In my opinion.
I still disagree. I think the issue is communication. It's not what a woman's willing to do or not willing to do. It's the communication.
I'm saying for men too.
Yeah.
It's for both.
It's both ways.
Checking your boy is making some really good points.
So what?
But my kid's going to be home any minute now, and I need to wrap this up. Great contributions. I appreciate you guys. I know at least two of you guys have a channel, so I will be putting you guys' channel in the description, and then when I repost. STG, do you have a channel?
I do, but ain't nothing on it yet. So don't even.
Okay. Hey, Mel, we need to talk, bro.
Great live. Great conversation, guys. I appreciate it. I didn't agree on a lot of stuff, but I agree on a lot of stuff, and I like that. I really do like that. I like hearing how people think anyway.
And
very
look,
fast.
If you want to do something really nice, go wash the damn dishes.
Yeah, just one time, man. Say happy birthday.
You will
baby.
make your wife's
Hey, you know
year.
what, Mel? You know, I might do that today since you said something. Hey,
She's
I
gonna
ain't
look
watched
like,
dishes
what
in
the-
years, bro. I appreciate you for saying that. I might do it today.
And salute to you, Amber. Salute to you, Boo. Thank y'all for keeping me honest. And like I said, we have a great dialogue.
Great
And everything doesn't have to be well, I hate you, you hate me.
Right.
We can
No,
always
that's never
agree.
gonna be here. Now, in the beef sector, I might do something like that, but that's never gonna be here on this channel.
Yeah.
No beef.
So I salute y'all, sisters.
Appreciate Lou. Let me see if I got Mel W. I don't know if I have it offhand.
Yeah, Mel, we need to talk. I used to be a teacher. I was a teacher at one time too, Mel. I was an art teacher.
I got Mel W.
I taught at the elementary school, bro. I know some stuff too.
I'm
All
gonna
right, y'all.
make
I'm
another.
gonna sign out
I made
myself.
a
Y'all be
video
good.
about something in education, but I'm also going to make another live. So I might have you up because I want to talk to a couple of teachers and just talk about some issues. So we'll be in touch.
Yes, sir.
So I told Mel personally, I said we need to talk more on faith and we need to talk more on politics. I'm not going to ignore that faith side. I think we can have a really good dialogue, and I think it'd be really engaging. And because a lot of things I heard, I'm like,
Hey,
so
Speaks, what you think about that video I sent you?
I would love to have those conversations. Which one?
The one about the voting rights. I sent you a video on voting rights.
I haven't seen it yet. I'll check it out though. I have not.
Yeah. I got some. Yeah, I have some input. I'm not just on one side. I'm well versed.
No, today was great, man. I appreciate all of you guys. STG, thank you, sir. Appreciate
Checking
it.
you, Boo. Checking you, Boo. I love you, sister. You know, we agree 99% of the time, but nowhere did I ever say women are the cause of the problem or I blamed women. That I don't do that wordplay on me. Women, you guys literally heard me say the most important vessel of life is women. The most important teacher in life is women. Women can't be blamed for that.
So again, with the whole communication point, what we say can come across a certain way, and we can't dictate how they receive it. So if she received it in a way that sounds like that, she may feel that way, and that's up for a whole other conversation. But again, man,
I gave it clarity.
She's not seeing it serious.
No. That's my A1 from day one. That's one of my favorite people on here.
Checking cool with me too. We talk about business, so we good.
That really bothers me that they labeled her a troll. That really bothers me. I don't know if anybody else saw it, was in that live.
Oh no, I'm staying away from all of that stuff, man. It's
that bothers me because
it's too much stuff going on. I'm not doing all of that.
No, me and Chicken talk about trademarks and copyrights. We on business. I'm good. We good. So it's what it is with me.
Thank you guys. Appreciate
all right, y'all. Y'all have a good day. Appreciate y'all. Love and respect.
Salute to y'all, brothers and sisters. Take care.
Thank you. All right. Thank everybody for the engagement. I think it was an amazing conversation, and that leaves more to talk about later, in my opinion. Like, share, and subscribe. Mel's link is in the chat. Lou's link is in the chat. I'm going to get Vince. Let's find Vince. Vince channel is now in the chat. I appreciate everybody. I really, really do. If anybody hit the Cash App, I don't know yet. I will put you in my description, and thank you as a sponsor to this live. I really, really, really appreciate all the engagement. This was amazing. Thank you to Amber. Thank you to Checking You Boo. You're legit blue. Vince, as always, thank you, sir. And anybody I missed, I don't know who else was in here, but thank you guys so much. I am going to end this with music, as I always will. It's going to be different music every time, because that's how I roll. And I am out.